Bom dia a todos. Dando continuidade ao nosso programa, hoje nós vamos ter a apresentação do professor Marco Pinhal, que é diretor das coleções do Museu d'Histoire Naturelle de Paris. Ele é botânico, biólogo também, e trabalha com as coleções, é um especialista nas coleções brasileiras que estão depositadas no Herbário de Paris. E hoje fará a sua apresentação falando sobre a coleção de Saint-Hilaire. Eu gostaria de agradecer ao professor Marco Pinhal pela aceitação em apresentar seu trabalho. Inicialmente pensávamos que seria presencial, ele poderia vir nos visitar mais uma vez no Brasil, que ele já trabalhou aqui muitas vezes, acho que há mais de 20 anos ele vem trabalhando no Brasil, mas, infelizmente, essa pandemia fez com que o nosso evento ficasse exclusivamente online. Mesmo assim, teremos a oportunidade de ouvi-lo falar sobre Saint-Hilaire, esse francês que andou pelo Brasil coletando e recolhendo informações sobre a nossa cultura, nossas plantas medicinais e também sobre as nossas plantas. Boa apresentação, Marc. A palavra fica com você. Muito obrigada.
Muito obrigado. Eu vou compartilhar a tela. Bonjour à tous.
Bom dia a todos.
Je vais vous faire une présentation un petit peu différente de celle que vous avez sans doute entendue hier.
Eu vou fazer uma apresentação um pouco diferente do que vocês escutaram ontem.
Nous allons évoquer un botaniste qui a été très important dans l'histoire et la description du Brésil.
De botânico muito importante na história do Brasil, trata-se de Auguste de Saint-Hilaire, cujo busto está no Jardim Botânico do Rio de Janeiro.
Des commémorations, des timbres-poste jusqu'à une marque de bière et une autre de cachaça.
E até uma marca de cachaça e de cerveja, né? O Auguste de Saint-Hilaire não é esquecido no Brasil.
Consacré à Saint-Hilaire et organisé par mon amie la professeure Maria das Graças.
Temos inclusive aqui essa cachaça de Minas Gerais. Eu tive a surpresa de receber um Saint-Hilaire esculpido em osso. Na França, depois de uma pesquisa rápida, eu encontrei uma pequena rua em Orléans. Não tem rua em Paris com o nome de Saint-Hilaire, imagine só. Importante dizer que em Paris nós temos dois outros Saint-Hilaire que não tem nada a ver com a família dele, que são zoólogo e paleontologista, respectivamente, e não tem nada a ver com ele.
Saint-Hilaire é conhecido pelos brasileiros como um velho científico.
É conhecido pelos brasileiros como um velho cientista com cabelo branco. Então, parece um vovô pioneiro da botânica do Brasil. Todas as imagens que a gente tem no Brasil são copiadas do quadro da esquerda, que ficou na família do naturalista.
É fausse.
essa imagem, ao mesmo tempo,
Il
é
faut plutôt
verdadeira e
considérer le
falsa,
portrait de
porque
droite, qui
é
est
melhor
daté
considerar
d'environ
o retrato
1830,
da
soit 8
direita,
ans après
que
son retour en
data de
France. Il est
1830, ou
certainement
seja,
plus
8
fidèle
anos
au
depois da
botaniste qui
volta
a
dele à
parcouru le
França.
Brésil pendant 5 ans.
Certamente é mais fiel ao botânico que percorreu o Brasil na época.
Alors, la famille de Saint-Hilaire
A
est de
família de
noblesse
Saint-Hilaire
provinciale et de commerçants.
é de
Elle
nobreza
possédait une
provincial e de
raffinerie de sucre près
comerciantes. Eles
d'Orléans,
tinham
dans le
uma
centre de la
refinaria de
France.
açúcar perto de
Et je voudrais,
Orléans,
à cette
no
occasion,
centro da França,
remercier M.
e queria,
Éric de
nessa
Trezy, un des
ocasião,
arrière-petits-neveux de Saint-Hilaire,
agradecer ao
qui m'a
senhor
fourni une
Henrique de
image de
Trezy,
la
que
généalogie de la famille.
que é bisneto dele, que me mostrou
La
a
famille vivait
genealogia da
près
família.
de la ville
A
d'Orléans,
família
dans le
mora
château de
perto da
l'Arthur-Pinière.
cidade de Orléans,
Et
nesse
je tiens
castelo
également à
aqui
remercier un autre
de
petit-neveu
l'Arthur-Pinière,
d'Auguste de
e aí eu
Saint-Hilaire,
agradeço
Philippe de
sim um
Brezy,
outro
qui
bisneto de
nous avait
Saint-Hilaire,
reçus avec beaucoup de
que nos
gentillesse au début des
recebeu
années
com muita
2000,
gentileza
alors que nous organisions un
no
livre sur le
início dos anos
botaniste.
2000, quando a gente estava organizando um livro sobre o botânico.
Alors, la famille qui est noble traverse
família, que é
l'époque de la
nobre,
Révolution française
atravessou a
en
Revolução
immigrant partiellement.
Francesa
Et
de
Saint-Hilaire va
forma mais
voyager
ou menos
pour aider un
tranquila,
oncle
e o
qui s'appelle
Saint-Hilaire vai
Pierre-Augustin
viajar para
Robert de
ajudar
Saint-Vincent
a um
et qui
tio
habite le Holstein, qui était à l'époque
que
une
mora
province du Danemark.
no Holstein, que na
Aujourd'hui,
época
ça
era
se
uma
trouve en
província da
Allemagne. Et en fait,
Dinamarca e
c'est une
hoje
province
fica
de
na
culture
Alemanha,
allemande.
mas é uma província
Et
de cultura
ainsi,
alemã,
Saint-Hilaire va
e
participer
aí
à la vie
Saint-Hilaire
intellectuelle de
vai
cette région. Et il est
participar
notamment
da
influencé dans
sociedade
la culture
intelectual dessa
allemande
região.
par
Ele é um
les théories de
francês
Goethe
na
sur
cultura
les
alemã,
métamorphoses des
e ele
plantes.
estudou as teorias de Goethe sobre a metamorfose
Alors, à
das
son retour en
plantas.
France,
Na volta dele na França,
le jeune botaniste commence à construire un réseau de
o jovem
scientifiques.
botânico resolve construir
D'abord
uma
dans la
rede
région
de
d'Orléans,
cientistas na região
et
de
puis plus
Orleans
rapidement au niveau national.
e depois,
Il suit les cours
rapidamente,
d'Antoine Laurent de
em nível
Jussieu à Paris.
nacional. Aqui tem
Antoine Laurent de
dois,
Jussieu,
vocês
qui
podem
est un
ver,
des premiers à avoir délimité les
o
premières
primeiro,
familles de plantes.
Antoine Laurent Jussieu,
Et il
delimitou as
rencontre le
primeiras
botaniste
famílias de
suisse
plantas, e
Augustin
ele
Pyram de
encontra
Candolle
também o
lors
botânico
d'excursions
suíço Augustin Pyram de Candolle.
en France.
Ele está na França, eles se encontram na
Lors
França.
d'excursions en France, de Candolle est un très grand nom de la botanique.
E esse
Il a travaillé à
Candolle é
Paris,
um
il a travaillé à
grande nome da
Montpellier,
botânica, ele trabalhou em
au sud de la
Paris, na
France, et
cidade de
aussi, bien sûr,
Montpellier,
à
no
Genève.
sul da França, e também em
D'ailleurs, c'est
Genebra.
à Genève que l'herbier de Candolle est
Aliás,
conservé.
foi
Les conférences de
em Genebra
Candolle
que
sont
o
très
herbário
importantes
de
car
Candolle é
il
conservado.
décrit une méthode
As contribuições dele
méticuleuse
são muito
d'étude des
importantes
plantes,
porque ele
et c'est une
descreve um
méthode qui
método
correspond
meticuloso das
parfaitement
plantas
au
que
caractère
corresponde
très, très
perfeitamente
organisé de
ao
Saint-Hilaire.
caráter muito organizado de Saint-Hilaire. Então, eles se entendem muito bem.
À partir de 1810,
A partir de
il envoie
1810,
ou il publie plusieurs articles consacrés à des
ele
groupes botaniques
publica
entiers.
diversos
Il a travaillé
artigos
sur le genre Vicia,
sobre
sur
a
le genre
botânica,
Hyacinthus. Eh
sobre
bien, il a
o
été très
gênero
investi dans
Vicia
des questions
e
de
Hyacinthus,
morphologie,
e
comme
também
l'étude des
sobre
plantes à
estudo de
placentation centrale.
morfologia como estudo das plantas em placentação central.
En 1816,
Em
le réseau de connaissances de la
1816,
famille
a
Saint-Hilaire va
rede de
lui donner
conhecimento da família
une grande opportunité
vai dar uma grande
d'aventure et de voyage
oportunidade
d'études.
de aventura e
Et pour
viagem
cela,
de
il faut
estudos.
le replacer dans le contexte politique de l'époque.
Para isso, tem que
Et
colocar
son
ele de novo
histoire
no
est
contexto
intimement liée à la
político da
grande
época
histoire.
e está realmente
La cour
ligado à grande
portugaise avait
história.
fui de
A
Portugal
corte
en
portuguesa havia
1808 devant les
fugido de
troupes
Portugal
de
em
Napoléon
1808 diante das tropas de Napoleão,
et Rio de Janeiro était devenue la
e o Rio de
capitale de l'Empire
Janeiro
portugais.
havia se tornado a capital do
Mais après la
Império
chute de
Português.
Napoléon Ier en
Após a
1815
queda de
et le
Napoleão
retour
I
du
em
roi au Portugal,
1815 e a
il
volta do
reste
rei
un conflit
Dom João a Portugal,
qui
continua
concerne les frontières de la Guyane
conflito
française avec le Brésil.
relativa às fronteiras
En
da
effet,
Guiana
la
Francesa
Guyane
com o Brasil. De
avait
fato,
été
a
envahie par
Guiana
les Portugais
Francesa
par
havia sido invadida pelos portugueses naquela
Afin de
época.
négocier les nouvelles frontières,
A
le
fim de
roi de
negociar as
France,
novas
Louis XVIII,
fronteiras, o
qui
rei da
représentait la
França,
gauche,
Luís XVIII, está
envoie une
representado aqui à
commission
esquerda,
diplomatique
manda uma
dirigée par le
comissão
duc de
diplomática
Luxembourg,
dirigida
qui est
pelo
au
Duque de
centre, et auprès
Luxemburgo, que
du
está no
prince Jean,
centro,
qui est le futur Jean VI, roi du Portugal.
para falar com João VI,
qui est représenté à droite.
rei de Portugal,
Plusieurs
representado
scientifiques
à
accompagnent les
direita.
diplomates, dont
Vários
Saint-Hilaire.
cientistas acompanham os
Mais alors
diplomatas,
que la commission
inclusive
diplomatique ne va
Saint-Hilaire.
rester que quelques mois au
A
Brésil,
comissão diplomática vai
Saint-Hilaire
ficar
va y
apenas
séjourner
alguns
5
meses
ans.
no Brasil,
Et
mas
en
o
ce qui
Saint-Hilaire vai
concerne les
ficar
travaux de la
durante
commission, il n'a
5 anos.
à
E
noter
relativamente
que
aos
le
trabalhos da
litige de
comissão,
frontière ne sera réglé que
é
beaucoup plus
importante
tard, en 1901.
notar que o litígio relativo à fronteira só vai ser resolvido muito mais
Alors,
tarde, em
Saint-Hilaire va
1901.
explorer une partie du centre et du sud du Brésil.
Saint-Hilaire vai explorar uma parte do
Les
centro e o
autorités
sul do
l'ont
Brasil.
autorisé à visiter toutes les
As
provinces brésiliennes,
autoridades
à
permitiram
l'exception
que ele
importante du Mato Grosso.
visitasse algumas províncias
Donc, il a ainsi
brasileiras, com
traversé
exceção
et
importante do
visité
Mato
et
Grosso.
étudié les États actuels
Então,
de Rio de Janeiro,
ele estudou os
Minas
estados
Gerais,
atuais de Rio de Janeiro,
Espírito
Minas
Santo,
Gerais, Espírito Santo,
Goiás, São Paulo,
Goiás, São Paulo,
Paraná, Santa
Paraná,
Catarina,
Santa
Rio Grande
Catarina,
do Sul.
Rio
Et
Grande
il
do
a
Sul,
également visité la région orientale de
e
l'Uruguay.
também visitou a região oriental do Uruguai.
Et puis en 1921,
Em 1921,
il termine son voyage et retourne
1821,
à Rio de
ele
Janeiro par la mer.
termina a viagem e volta ao Rio de Janeiro.
Alors, le résultat de ces 5 années
O
d'exploration est très
resultado
important.
desses 5 anos de
Saint-Hilaire a récolté
exploração é
plus de
muito
20 000
importante.
spécimens d'herbiers.
O Saint-Hilaire
Donc, il existe plusieurs
recolheu
carnets
20
de
mil
terrain
espécimes
qui
de
décrivent non seulement
herbário.
la
Ele
botanique,
escreveu
mais aussi la
diversos
zoologie, la géographie
cadernos
physique
com
et toute la
não só
société
botânica,
brésilienne.
mas
Et
zoologia,
à ce
geografia
titre,
física
ce
e
n'est pas qu'un
sociedade
botaniste qui
brasileira.
revient,
Ou seja, não é
c'est
só um botânico que volta, é
le premier à avoir
primeiro
constitué une source très précieuse pour
a
les
ter
historiens du Brésil.
constituído uma fonte muito preciosa para os historiadores do Brasil.
Alors, en 2012, pour
Em
faciliter la
2012,
consultation de l'herbier,
para
nous avons
facilitar a
mené un
consulta
projet
do
entre
herbário,
plusieurs
nós conduzimos um
institutions,
projeto
l'Institut botanique de
junto
São
com
Paulo,
várias
le Muséum national
instituições,
de
Instituto
Paris
Botânico
et
de São
l'association
Paulo,
CRIA.
o de
Et nous
Paris
avons
e a
créé un site
Associação CRIA,
internet qui présente l'herbier virtuel accompagné
construímos um site na
des
internet que
descriptions qui
mostra
figurent sur
herbário
les carnets de
virtual
récolte.
com as descrições que constam nos
Et
cadernos
comme la difficulté avec le
de
matériel
Saint-Hilaire.
ancien,
E
c'est
como
de
a
reconnaître les
dificuldade
écritures
o
et
material
souvent
antigo é de
d'étudier les manuscrits
reconhecer a
complémentaires,
escrita e
on a décidé
entender o
de les
manuscrito,
associer avec
então
une
decidimos
consultation
associá-lo
plus facile.
com uma consulta mais fácil escrita à máquina.
Donc, il est ainsi possible de consulter les pages
Então,
des
aqui
carnets,
é possível consultar as páginas
voir les
dos
détails des
cadernos dele, ver o detalhamento das
et puis,
descrições
de la même chose, consulter la plante
e também
avec ses
consultar
détails
a
et les
planta
détails des
com seus
étiquettes.
detalhes e o detalhe das etiquetas.
Après son retour en France,
Na
Saint-Hilaire
sua
a
volta
passé
para a
plus de 20
França,
ans
Saint-Hilaire
pour
passou
publier
mais de
son œuvre,
20 anos
qui
para
comprend
publicar a sua obra,
deux ouvrages importants pour le
que
Brésil,
compreende 2
les
obras
voyages dans
importantes para
l'intérieur
o
du
Brasil,
Brésil en
as
5 volumes,
viagens no
et la
interior do
Flora
Brasil em
Brasilia
5 volumes,
Meridionalis en 8
e
volumes,
a Flora
mais ce
Brasilia
dernier ouvrage est
Meridionalis
incomplet.
em 8 volumes, mas
Il n'est
ele
pas
está
arrivé au
incompleto.
bout de la
Esse ele não
description de la
conseguiu
totalité de la flore du Brésil.
terminar a descrição na totalidade da flora brasileira.
Et dans la préface du premier volume,
No início, aí,
Saint-Hilaire
no
a
prefácio do
écrit
primeiro volume, Saint-Hilaire
chaque
escreveu:
jour, j'écrivais un journal détaillé de ce qui se présentait à moi.
todos os dias eu escrevi um diário
J'enregistrais,
detalhado
tout en
do que
méthode de
estava diante de
connaissance,
mim
tout ce
e
qui pouvait
registrava,
contribuer à
tanto
donner une
quanto
idée exacte
meus
du
fracos
pays que je traversais.
conhecimentos, tudo que poderia
C'est
ajudar
dans
a
ce
dar uma
journal,
ideia
écrit sur
exata dos
place,
países pelos
que
quais estava
j'extrais
passando.
le récit
É
historique
nesse
en retenant ce
caderno,
d'où la
escrito no
publication.
local, que extraio
Il
a
commençait cette
relação
publication
histórica da qual
par le
inicio
Minas
hoje
Gerais.
a publicação.
Malheureusement,
Infelizmente,
le journal de voyage qu'évoque Saint-Hilaire
o
est perdu.
caderno de viagens que
C'est très
evoca
dommage
Saint-Hilaire
parce que
foi
le dernier
perdido.
tome de ces
Ao
voyages
qual
dans
o
l'intérieur
Saint-Hilaire
du
se
Brésil,
refere, é uma pena,
publié
porque esse último tomo,
20 ans après sa mort, a
publicado
été
20
inspiré
anos depois
directement
da
du
morte
journal du
dele, foi
voyage.
inspirado
Et il y a beaucoup
diretamente
plus de
da
détails que
viagem. Tem
ce
muito mais
que Saint-Hilaire a
detalhes
bien voulu mettre dans les ouvrages
do que o
précédents.
Saint-Hilaire colocou nas obras dele, especificamente.
Mais maintenant, je vous propose d'examiner de plus près le travail de Saint-Hilaire, la
Mas
façon
eu
dont il
proponho
travaillait, au travers des descriptions
examinar
qui figurent dans ses cahiers.
o trabalho de Saint-Hilaire por meio
Alors,
das
sur le
descrições que ele
site
fazia no
l'herbier
caderno.
virtuel de
No
Saint-Hilaire,
site
on
do
peut consulter
herbário
les cahiers.
virtual de Saint-Hilaire, a gente pode olhar os cadernos que ficaram.
On peut regardez les pages des descriptions. Ces
Podemos ver
descriptions
as
sont les unes
páginas
à
de
la suite des autres.
descrição, elas estão uma após as outras.
Très souvent, Saint-Hilaire laissait un blanc pour compléter la
Muitas
description le
vezes o Santiago
soir.
deixava
Quand
um
il n'avait
espacinho
plus de
branco para
place,
completar a
il faisait
descrição
des
à noite,
renvois, ce qui
e
complique
quando ele não
souvent la
tinha mais
lecture du
lugar,
cahier,
ele
en
fazia
dehors de l'écriture,
remissões.
qui est une écriture ancienne, bien sûr.
E você vê que a escrita era antiga, né?
Et
Claro.
dans une lettre à son maître Antoine
Uma
Laurent de
carta
Jussieu, dont on a parlé au début de
ao
la
seu
conférence,
mestre
c'est une
Jussieu,
lettre datée
do
sans
qual já
doute
falamos,
du décembre 1816, c'est-à-dire au
que
début de
acho
son
que é de
voyage.
dezembro de
Il a
1816, ou
décrit
seja, o
sa méthode
início
de
da sua
travail.
viagem, ele descreveu o
Je
seu
ne cherche
método de
point à
trabalho.
déterminer des espèces,
Eu não
ni même
estou
des genres.
tentando determinar
Je me
espécies
contente de
ou
reconnaître la
pessoas.
famille des plantes
Para
que je
mim, me basta
recueille
reconhecer a
et un
família
numéro
das
renvoie
plantas
à des
que eu
notes
colho,
où j'indique pour toutes
e aí eu
l'endroit où je
anoto
les ai
onde
trouvées,
indico para
la
todos o
couleur des
lugar onde eu
fleurs,
as encontrei, a
le
cor
nom
das
vulgaire quand
flores
elles en ont et les propriétés qu'on leur
e as
attribue.
propriedades atribuídas
J'ajoute
a
pour les
elas.
arbres et les
Eu
arbrisseaux leur
acrescento
hauteur,
para
leur
as
port,
árvores a
la
sua
couleur et la nature
altura,
de leur
porte,
écorce.
cor e natureza
Les botanistes de l'assistance peuvent témoigner que cette méthode est toujours utilisée.
Esse
Et en
método ainda é
particulier, ce qui était
utilizado
moderne
e,
à l'époque de Saint-Hilaire,
principalmente, o que era
l'utilisation d'une
moderno na
numérotation.
época de Saint-Hilaire, o uso de notações.
Examinons de plus près une description.
Vamos examinar de mais de perto a descrição.
Alors, il y a le numéro de récolte,
Tem o número
une identification provisoire, en l'occurrence ici le genre
de
ictus,
colheita, de
une
identificação
description,
provisória, uma descrição
et en bas,
e embaixo
une description géographique.
uma descrição
Alors, la description
geográfica.
géographique est toujours compliquée
A descrição geográfica
à interpréter dans le
é sempre
cahier,
difícil de
parce que
ser
très
interpretada
souvent,
no caderno, porque muitas vezes
très souvent, il fait référence à la plante qui précède.
ele
Donc,
se
il ajoute
refere à
M.L.
planta. Descrição aqui está ela, é uma Tistamifoliae, que foi descrita depois por Poitou, e o Poitou recopiou a descrição desse caderno do Saint-Hilaire.
Maintenant, je voudrais vous parler un petit peu plus précisément
gostaria de falar
d'une notation qui n'est plus
pouquinho mais de
utilisée
precisão de
aujourd'hui
uma notação
en
que
raison
não
de
é
l'arrivée de
usada
la
hoje
photographie en
mais,
couleur. Comment
porque
notait-on
chegou
les
a
couleurs des
fotografia
plantes à
em
l'époque?
cores, né? Então, como é que a gente descrevia antes as
En réalité,
cores
les
das
botanistes faisaient
plantas
comme ils
naquela
le pouvaient,
época?
bien quelquefois ils ne le notaient pas.
Muitas vezes
Mais
eles não anotavam. A tabela, número 13, etc. O que significa MIRB? Trata-se do trabalho de um professor do Museu de Paris e as referências referem-se a uma obra de 1815, ele se chamava Mirbel, ou seja, o Saint-Hilaire havia lido, havia sido publicado um ano antes da viagem, e certamente ele levou esse livro com ele, e ele usa essa descrição. E é engraçado
Il est
que ele
aussi
dedica
intéressant de
esse
noter
trabalho ao
qu'il y a
paleontólogo
un supplément
Cuvier.
sur la
E
composition
tem um
chimique des
suplemento também
végétaux
sobre a composição química
par
dos
le chimiste
vegetais
Chevreul.
pelo
Et je
químico
reviendrai sur le professeur
Chevreul.
Chevreul,
Eu vou
qui plus
falar
tard, il
mais
travaillera sur
para
la théorie
frente
de la couleur.
dele,
Mais
porque ele vai
là, dans
trabalhar
cet
sobre a teoria da
ouvrage-là,
cor.
il parle plus de la chimie des végétaux que
Mas
de la
aqui ele
couleur des
fala
plantes.
mais da química dos vegetais do que da cor.
Donc, dans ce traité
Aqui
d'anatomie
está
et de
nesse
physiologie
tratado de
végétale,
anatomia, de
il y a
fisiologia
aussi un
vegetal,
mémoire supplémentaire
tem
qui est
também um
signé
texto
de Léonore
suplementar
Mérimée.
assinado
Léonore
por
Mérimée, c'était un
Leonor
peintre et un
Mérimée.
chimiste.
Era um
Et
pintor e um
accessoirement,
químico
c'était le père de l'écrivain Prosper Mérimée.
e era
Et
também o
c'est donc à
pai de
Léonore
um
Mérimée
escritor
qu'on doit
famoso
le
na França
système
que se chama
utilisé par
Prosper
Saint-Hilaire.
Mérimée. E ele usa
Alors, en
esse
quoi
sistema,
consiste-t-il?
ele que organizou esse sistema usado pelo
Eh bien, la
Saint-Hilaire. Em
notation
que
des couleurs
consiste?
est
A notação
structurée en
das
4
cores
tableaux,
está estruturada em 4
3 roues
quadros.
et puis un tableau des grilles. Une roue pour les couleurs brillantes,
3
une
rodas
autre
para
pour
as
les couleurs
cores, uma
altérées
para as cores
et une
brilhantes, outra
troisième
para as
pour
cores
les couleurs
alteradas
très
e o terceiro
altérées.
para cores muito alteradas.
Pour revenir à la description
Para
qui
voltar
se trouve sur le cahier de récolte,
à descrição que está nesse
si pour
caderno
chaque
aqui de coleta,
référence,
se
on
para cada
affiche la couleur, j'ai tiré
referência a
la
gente
couleur
colocar a
des
cor
tableaux eux-mêmes,
a qual ele faz
des cercles
referência,
eux-mêmes, on
o
obtient cette
Saint-Hilaire
gamme de couleurs.
faz referência, a gente
Et si on
obtém essa
l'applique
gama de cores. Se a gente aplicar
aux organes décrits,
aos órgãos
des sépales, des
descritos,
pétales et du label,
sépalas, pétalas e
donc on
labelo,
obtient,
a gente
on
vai
peut imaginer la
obter, a
couleur que
gente
la plante
consegue
avait. Alors, dans
imaginar a
cette
cor que
description,
a
il
planta
s'agit pour
tinha.
les
Nessa
botanistes d'un
descrição,
Cyrtopodium gigas.
trata-se de um
Et
citopódium gigas.
voici la photo de la fleur prise
Aqui está
actuellement, bien sûr.
a
Vous
foto
voyez que les couleurs qui sont
da
notées, ma
flor
foi, sont
atualmente,
assez
claro, mas
fidèles
você
à
pode
la
ver que
réalité de la plante.
as cores anotadas são bastante fiéis à cor atual da flor.
Alors, Saint-Hilaire a noté aussi de la façon la
Saint-Hilaire
plus précise
anotou também da
possible
forma mais
les
precisa
noms
possível os
et les usages
nomes
locaux.
e os usos
Et très souvent,
locais.
dans les ouvrages
Muitas
postérieurs de ses collègues,
vezes, nas
il ira
obras
jusqu'à
posteriores de seus
corriger l'orthographe des noms
colegas,
relevés.
ele vai
Et pour
corrigir a
revenir
ortografia aqui
à
dos
ces
nomes.
notations,
E para
par
voltar às
exemple, dans le cahier
anotações
B1,
dele, por exemplo, no caderno
il a noté comme
número
nom
1,
vernaculaire
ele anotou
la
como não
serpentaria
vernacular
ou Herva de
a
Cascavel et ou encore
serpentária ou
Raisitiu.
erva de
Et on peut
cascavel
lire
ou raizitiu.
racine avec une forte
E
odeur de
podemos ler
musc. C'est
raízes
un
com
puissant
forte
antidote
cheiro. Em 2012, o artigo é citado por diversos
il valide
trabalhos
certains des usages relevés.
e que valida alguns dos usos que foram anotados lá.
Ce lien entre les données
Esse elo
notées,
entre
voici plus de
os
200 ans,
dados
et les recherches
de
modernes est
200
intéressant.
anos e as
Et en
pesquisas
fait, il nous
modernas é
servira quand même de
interessante.
conclusion,
Na verdade, isso vai
parce
servir
que
para
les
mim
données des
como
scientifiques du
conclusão,
19e
porque
siècle ne
os
sont pas forcément
dados aqui
obsolètes.
desse
Elle
século XIX
décrivent
não
des
são
faits
necessariamente
sociaux ou
obsoletos,
biologiques et des méthodes qui sont
ou
encore
seja,
d'actualité.
métodos que
En les
continuam
revisitant à la lumière
atuais.
des connaissances actuelles,
Revisitando
ils
esses
participent toujours à la
métodos à
construction de la
luz
science
dos
moderne.
conhecimentos atuais, eles
Je vous
continuam
remercie pour votre attention. Je ne sais pas du
ajudando
tout
na
le temps que j'ai
construção da
passé à
notação
cette
atual e agradeço
conférence.
pela
J'espère que je n'ai pas trop dépassé.
atenção. Espero não ter ultrapassado o tempo que me era permitido.
Merci Marc pour cette présentation très intéressante.
Obrigado, Marco, por essa apresentação muito interessante. A gente sabe, por acaso, se Saint-Hilaire implantou algumas espécies botânicas brasileiras características na França e se algumas prosperaram?
Je ne crois pas. Alors,
Eu
Saint-Hilaire,
acho que não. Saint-Hilaire,
excusez-moi, je suis juste gêné par le mélange de la traduction. J'éteins mon haut-parleur. Saint-Hilaire a beaucoup recherché les usages, en particulier tout ce qui concernait
buscou
les luttes
muitos
contre
os
les fièvres,
usos
donc tout ce qui se rapprochait de la
relativo às
quinine,
questões
mais il n'a pas
de
apporté de
febre
plantes
e
en France.
quinina.
D'abord, le climat ne le permettait pas. On aurait pu imaginer qu'il
Gente, ele
établirait
precisa
des
fechar o
liens avec
microfone
la Guyane
dele.
française, mais en réalité, il ne l'a pas fait.
Gente, ele precisa fechar o microfone dele. Bom, o que eu pude entender é que ele não fez isso. Saint-Hilaire não que o Saint-Hilaire não implantou nenhuma planta brasileira na França. Eu também tenho uma pergunta. Você está me ouvindo, professor Pinhal?
Oui, oui, tout à fait. En fait, très mal. Je croyais, mais...
Sua apresentação era muito interessante. Eu não conhecia Saint-Hilaire e agora que eu escutei, eu percebi que ele faz parte da história importante do Brasil. Exatamente quando ele estava aqui no Brasil é que foi criado o Jardim Botânico do Rio de Janeiro, bem nessa época. Portanto, eu não conheço o Jardim Botânico do Rio de Janeiro, mas eu imagino que certamente deve ter informações sobre ele, porque provavelmente ele deve ter ajudado os portugueses, tanto Dom João quanto Dom Pedro I e Dom Pedro II, a fazer a descrição de espécies. Isso é muito interessante, principalmente nessa época no Brasil, em que temos duas novelas que tratam da história do Brasil exatamente nesse período, exatamente Saint-Hilaire. Eu é que agradeço. Na verdade, o Jardim Botânico do Rio de Janeiro ainda estava no estado embrionário. Armada e Jardim Botânico. E aí ele deixou de ter o aspecto a arma, ainda bem, e se tornou apenas Jardim Botânico. E aí ele deixou de ter o aspecto a arma, ainda bem, e se tornou apenas Jardim Botânico. E aí ele deixou de ter o aspecto a arma, ainda bem, e se tornou apenas Jardim Botânico. E aí ele deixou de ter o aspecto a arma, ainda bem, e se tornou apenas Jardim Botânico. E aí ele deixou de ter o aspecto a arma, ainda bem, e se tornou apenas Jardim Botânico.
Professeur Fátima, je crois que vous pouvez prendre la parole.
Professor
Fátima, je crois que vous pouvez prendre la parole.
Oui, tá ouvindo?
J'entends beaucoup de retours.
Professor Fátima, je crois que vous pouvez prendre la parole.
Oui, tá ouvindo?
J'entends beaucoup de retours.
Professor Fátima, je crois que vous pouvez prendre la parole.
Oui, tá ouvindo?
Je suis désolé, j'entends un écho et vos paroles répétées infiniment. Je suis désolé, j'entends un écho et vos paroles répétées infiniment.
Oui.
Je suis désolé, j'entends un écho et vos paroles répétées infiniment.
Oui.
Je suis désolé, j'entends un écho et vos paroles répétées infiniment.
Oui.
Vos paroles répétées infiniment.
Tem um problema aqui com o som. Tem um problema com o som. Por favor. Tem um problema aqui com o som. Tem um problema com o som. Por favor. Tem um problema aqui com o som. Tem um problema com o som. Por favor. Tem um problema aqui. Oi? Alô?
Je crois que c'est résoudre le problème.
Como está o projeto?
Je crois que c'est résoudre le problème.
Oh. Está o projeto?
Je crois que c'est résoudre le problème.
Oh. Está o projeto?
Je crois que c'est résoudre le problème.
Oh. Está o projeto?
Je crois que c'est résoudre le problème.
Oh.
Mahmoud, é possível fazer alguma coisa? É melhor a gente se reconectar? Mahmoud, é possível fazer alguma coisa? É melhor a gente se reconectar? É possível fazer alguma coisa, é melhor a gente se reinventar. É possível fazer alguma coisa, é melhor a gente se reinventar. É possível fazer alguma coisa, é melhor a gente se reinventar. Pedimos desculpas aí aos palestrantes e aos ouvintes, mas são problemas dessa questão aí virtual. De vez em quando a conexão cai, às vezes acontecem coisas surpreendentes como esse eco, mas a gente está tentando aqui resolver. Dessa questão aí virtual, de vez em quando a conexão cai, às vezes acontecem coisas surpreendentes como esse eco, mas a gente está tentando aqui resolver. Dessa questão aí virtual, de vez em quando a conexão cai, às vezes acontecem coisas surpreendentes como esse eco.
Comment se passe le projet sur l'œuvre de Saint-Hilaire?
Questão aí virtual, de vez em quando a conexão cai, às vezes acontecem coisas surpreendentes como esse eco.
Comment se passe le projet sur l'œuvre de Saint-Hilaire?
Questão aí virtual, de vez em quando a conexão cai, às vezes acontecem coisas surpreendentes como esse eco.
Comment se passe le projet sur l'œuvre de Saint-Hilaire?
Bon, comme je ne vois pas une solution vite, je crois qu'il est plus facile de fermer tous et réentrer dans la salle pour essayer de donner un restart sur la page. Fermer tous et réentrer dans la salle pour essayer de donner un restart sur la page. Fermer tous. Mohamed, a gente vai fechar tudo, como se fosse fechar a página e reabrir para tentar resolver isso. Mohamed.
Bom, eu acho que tinha uma pergunta de Fátima, mas não? Oh,
I can hear you.
oh non. Vous ne m'entendez pas?
Eu te escuto. Eu estou te escutando.
Ah. Bien, je réponds aux questions, je suis d'accord. Quelle question? Ah non.
Oui, maintenant ça retourne.
Ouf.
Ufa. Bom, je crois que la transmission a retourné.
Vamos tentar entrar em contato com ela.
Ici, dans le chat do YouTube, il y a une personne.
Aqui no chat do YouTube, tem uma pessoa, Simone Valverde, que disse que o Jardim Botânico do Rio de Janeiro, hoje, também é um instituto de pesquisa com muitas informações históricas. Como eu disse, eu não conhecia, eu não conheço o Jardim Botânico, eu não sei se tem um pouquinho da história, da passagem de Saint-Hilaire aqui no Brasil, mas é algo que se vê, né? Quando eu for novamente ao Rio de Janeiro, eu gostaria muito de conhecer o Jardim Botânico e vou buscar se há algumas informações, eu não sei muito. Como o jardim é posterior a
Vi no chat uma pergunta, não sei de quem, sobre o projeto Saint-Hilaire. Se ele agora ainda existe. Eu vou falar em francês.
Oui, oui, nous avons la traduction.
Oui, oui. En fait, le projet Saint-Hilaire se poursuit, il a bénéficié de...
Na verdade, o projeto Saint-Hilaire continua, né? E ele se beneficiou dessa e talvez tenha sido a informação que passou da alta sociedade de Orleans e de Paris. Então é interessante, né? Era a forma de divulgação da época.
Por favor, tentem colocar a professora Fátima como palestrante. Não sei se ela tem que aceitar. Ela está aqui, mas não consegue falar. Ela está só escrevendo no chat.
Fátima.
Professora Fátima, você já está liberada para fazer aqui os encaminhamentos para fechar e agradecer ao professor Pinhalo.
Ok. Muito obrigada, professor Mark, pelas informações sobre o projeto de Saint-Hilaire. Fui eu que perguntei. E gostei muito, parabéns pela palestra, muito importante, informativa, desse francês que andou coletando nossas plantas. Eu conheço o material, muita coisa de solanácea do Saint-Hilaire, então é um conhecido meu. Eu acho que a gente tem alguma coisa mais em comum. Se não me engano, ele nasceu no dia que eu nasci, 4 de outubro. Não é isso? Então, é uma boa coincidência. Muito obrigada. Muito obrigada pela apresentação, foi muito boa. E eu gostaria agora de agradecer a sua atenção em nos atender, mesmo com todas as dificuldades e os trabalhos aí no Museu de História Natural de Paris. Muito grata. E na próxima vez, venha pessoalmente. Isso é o mais importante.
Tá bom. Será com prazer. Será com prazer. Claro.
Muito obrigada. Merci beaucoup.
De rien, ça fait un plaisir.
Para nós também, por nós.
É um prazer estar aqui.
Francisco Jaime, que vai encaminhar a próxima, vai coordenar a próxima palestra. Está com você, Francisco.
Obrigado, professora Fátima. Obrigado, professor Pinhal. Now, I will present the next speaker, Professor Jean-Luc Decoux. I will do his presentation. Jean-Luc Decoux received the PhD degrees from Lille University in Chemistry and Physical Chemistry of Polymers in 1976, and in Bioorganic Chemistry in 1983. He spent 1 year from September 1983 in Montreal, Canada, at the McGill University as a postdoc working on the chemical synthesis of RNA oligonucleotides. He was visiting professor in Brazil, in India, in Singapore, and in the United States. He was research on the Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique, CNRS, in Lille, and then in Grenoble from 1980 In 1998, he joined as professor of physical chemistry and medicinal chemistry in the Grenoble Alpes University in the Faculty of Pharmacy and the Research Department of Molecular Pharmacochemistry, and was in charge of the department during more than 10 years. Currently, he is Professor Exceptional Class 2, Physical Chemistry and Medicinal Chemistry from the Faculty of Pharmacy, University, Grenoble Alpes University. He has supervised 23 PhD theses and 17 postdoctoral programs. He is co-author of 102 publications with ASH index of 27. He writes 7 book chapters, 6 French teachers' books, and 15 patents, being 13 international. His research work are main focus on the design, synthesis, and study of biological tools, anti-cancer and antiviral agents targeting nucleic acids, antibiotics, agents targeting ribosomal REN and bacterial membranes, and potentiators of the chloride canals to cure cystic fibrosis. He is also right interested in chemistry at the origin of life. Since September 2021, he is an emeritus professor of the University Grenoble Alpes. Professor Jean-Luc, thank you very much to stay with us. I give to you the time. It's a great pleasure to stay with you here. Thank you so much, and you can start your presentation.
Thank you, Francisco. Many thanks to Francisco and to the organization committee for the invitation and to our sponsor. I am happy to be with you today. Grenoble is not far. Excuse me. Grenoble is not far from Grenoble at the scale of Brazil, at 600 kilometers from Paris. You can see here a view from the city of the French Alps that are now on the snow time, very different of your summer time. And the nice sunset over the ocean. RNA is a key biological molecules, macromolecules, intermediate between DNA and protein. I would like to convince you that numerous Vous m'entendez?
Yes, Professor Jean-Luc. On peut vous écouter. On écoute bien.
I would like to convince you that numerous natural and synthetic products can bind selectively to RNA sequence and interfere through this binding with different biological targets and RNA sequence. and interferes with this binding with different biological processes. Therefore, such compound can be drug candidate or tool for biochemical and biophysical studies. Three kinds of RNA are involved in the translation of DNA in protein: messenger RNA, transfer RNA, ribosomal RNA. Messenger RNA undergoes many processes of maturation, especially in eukaryotes, with the splicing in order to remove non-coding RNA sequence present in the pre-messenger RNA. RNA is present in cell mainly as a single strand, at the opposite of DNA, present in double strand and double helix. RNA and DNA differ by the nature of the sugar polymerase through phosphodiester bond here. RNA and DNA differ by the nature of the sugar polymerase. Here you have the ribose with the 2' hydroxyl groups, and in DNA we found deoxyribose with this here H atom. Three bases are shared by RNA and DNA: adenine, guanine, cytosine, C. Only the uracil base in RNA is replaced by the thymine base in DNA. You can see here the Watson-Crick base pairing found in DNA and RNA, but not only in RNA. Are present in RNA. Base pairing is represented here by this and une pair base like this. The monostrand can form helix, hairpin, bulge, and other structures through Watson-Crick base pairing, and also from different base pairing, for example, UU here or UG. The corresponding tertiary structure can be recognized selectively by antibiotics species in ribosomal RNA, for example. Many different types of RNA can be found, and I would like to highlight here the biological role of diversity of different types of RNA. First, the encoding messenger RNA that undergo splicing in eukaryote. Encoding sequence named exon present in messenger RNA are separated by non-coding sequence named intron. The removal of the non-coding intron named splicing is performed by nucleoprotein complexes and can be catalyzed by RNA itself. You have here the mechanism of this catalysis. Here you have a guanosine bound to the ribosome. The autocatalytic RNA are named ribosine, like enzyme. The guanosine complexity here can attack by its hydroxyl group here, a phosphodiester groups here, and is linked to the first intron. The release hydroxyl group of the exon can attack here these phosphodiester groups and to be linked to the second exon. This splicing release non-coding RNA sequence that can be regulator and answer of gene expression like through epigenetic mechanism. mRNA can adopt tertiary structure named riboswitch that are potential targets for drugs where RNA riboswitch, is a regulatory segment of messenger RNA, such as this one, that bind to a small molecules, a protein, or another. You can see here this sequence bind to a protein or another RNA sequence, and thus the binding induce modification of the secondary structure and tertiary structure here, and can stop the translation. For example, here, the machinery is stopped here by this binding. Magnesium, fluoride ions, pH sensing riboswitch are involved in bacterial virulence, cellular mobility, biofilm formation. Many non-coding RNA are involved in the regulation and modification of gene expression. Ribosomal RNA that form with proteins the translation machinery, and the translation catalysis is made by RNA itself, called ribosome. Transfer RNA that carry each one amino acid used in the protein synthesis. Translation is also catalyzed by RNA itself. You have, you have here a view of a tRNA. Other non-coding RNA sequence constitute epigenetic effectors that induce every time phenotype change. Modified RNA sequence can be formed, for example, by methylation in messenger RNA. This modification can be related to large variety of physiological and pathological change, such as cancer, obesity. Short and long RNA are also epigenetic factors that induce hereditary phenotype change. and TROMF, for example. Another example is a long X RNA, which is an effector of gene expression through binding and inactivation of chromosome X, leading to coat color patterning calico cats, like this one. Regarding the translation process, recent progresses were made in the understanding of the structure and function of ribosome. For example, in the catalysis of the reaction performed between two amino tRNA involved in the peptide bond formation, one at the P site here, where is located the tRNA carrying the growing peptide here, and the second at the P site here, carrying the amino acid to add to the growing peptide through this reaction. Puromycin is an example of antibiotics that bind to ribosomal RNA and stop the translation. You can see the amino group, nucleophilic amino group here. It can be, this part can be, puromycin can be linked with the growing peptide, and then the second reaction is not possible, the following reaction is not possible, and the protein synthesis stopped. You can see here some interesting movie showing the ribosome in action. You can see in purple two subunits of the ribosome, and many antibiotics bind and disturb the protein synthesis. For example, aminoglycoside that bind here near the A site here in blue. You have here the structure of these antibiotics. As mentioned, the catalysis of the peptide bond formation is made by tRNA. Here you can see that this hydroxyl group, the 2' hydroxyl group, participate to the catalysis here, and also the ribosomal RNA. You have the P site here and the A site here. The nucleophilic attack here at the ester bond is catalyzed by hydrogen bonding. RNA is unstable under basic condition here. For example, a base can abstract this hydrogen atom with cleavage here to lead to this fragment. RNA is very rapidly hydrolyzed by excreted ribonuclease, according to this mechanism here. An imidazole ring of an histidine residue, can abstract this hydrogen atom with an attack of the oxygen atom on the phosphodiester bond here, and with here a positive charge which decrease the electron density around the phosphorus atom. It was possible to use a small part of the coronavirus RNA sequence in order to vaccine against COVID-19 through protection of the corresponding short RNA in ribosome able to enter in human cells. Many metabolic pathways suggest that RNA has preceded DNA and has been the macromolecule at the origin of life. RNA sequence can have been catalytic site using or not cofactor, coenzyme. Information carrier can have been information carrier enable of self-replication. Many redox and non-redox coenzymes are made of ribonucleotide, such as adenosine, and can be fossil of the first RNA world. The RNA life is related to many biological processes: transcription from DNA, splicing, tagging with transcription starting site, editing, with translation starting sites, editing with base modification, addition of a cap and a tail in order to leave the cell nucleus. In the future, it should be possible to interfere selectively with this different process in order to control the chain expression and the emergence of pathology. In this table, I show you drugs targeting RNA or enzyme involved in the biosynthesis of RNA. For example, more than 50% of antibiotics target ribosomal RNA: chloramphenicol, tetracycline, macrolide, lincosamide, aminoglycoside, oxazolidone. Many antiviral drugs target RNA polymerase, like ribavirin, sofosbuvir, remdesivir, and perhaps in the future, molnupiravir. I will illustrate a strategy used to inhibit the capping step of the influenza virus RNA. And our work on aminoglycoside and a more general strategy developed with peptide nucleic acid to control chain expression. Natural aminoglycoside synthesized by bacteria are antibiotic drugs targeting bacterial ribozyme and also inhibiting splicing. You have here the structure. At physiological pH, they are polycationic species. Here, the family of kanamycin, and here the family of neomycin and paromomycin. R equal NH2 or OH here. Streptomycin carrying guanidinium groups, 2 guanidinium groups here, is used to treat tuberculosis. Apramycin here is used in farming. Gentamicin is used in hospital and clinics. We started from neomycin in your approach because unfortunately antibiotic aminoglycoside drug lead to the intensive use, lead to resistance causing enzyme, acetylase, kinase, phosphotransferase, modify aminoglycoside. Unfortunately, also nephrotoxicity and ototoxicity are observed. And thus, we introduce a new chemical group in the search for new antibiotic, efficient, again, resistant bacteria to aminoglycoside, antiviral agent with a target HIV-TAR RNA. Research also for nuclease-like RNA cleaving agent from aminoglycoside and or cell-penetrating agent, and also tool for chiral separation by chromatography in analytic chemistry. We started from neomycin here or paromomycin, and we cleaved by metanolosis this bond to lead to neamine here, equal NH2, or paromamine equal OH. At the beginning of this work, we expected RNA cleavage activity of the neamine core due to the presence of protonated and unprotonated amino group at physiological pH, similar to the one of ribonuclease. Here you have pKa-7, and thus protonated and unprotonated groups are present at pH 7.2. Nearly 30 publications were published on this work. The replication of the HIV-TAR RNA represented here, in part, is induced by at a viral switch, which is here, through the binding to the viral protein TAT. And this process is called transactivation, using a fluorimetric competition assay in collaboration with the team of Michael Goebel in Frankfurt. We demonstrate a strong binding of the neamine dimer and trimer to TAR and an inhibition of TAR-TAT interaction necessary to the viral RNA transcription and replication. You have here example of dimer and trimer linked by the 5 position here. We also prepared selectively the first 4' neamine derivative, such as this trimer here, and this conjugate to phenanthroline. We also conjugated the neamine core to amino acid residue from amino alkyl arm here and here, the 5 position and the 4' position here. And identified this conjugate carrying an imidazole groups as very efficient in the inhibition of the tartat interaction with an IC50 of 170 micromolar. In collaboration with the team of Marie-Paul Major-Leclerc in Brussels, we identified strong broad-spectrum antibacterial amphiphilic aminoglycoside and demonstrated that those derivatives target bacterial membrane. Here, neomycin bind to ribosome and grafting alkyl chain, for example, here, we obtain amphiphilic neamine derivative that target here the outer membrane of Pseudomonas aeruginosa through binding to lipopolysaccharide and depolarization of the membrane, and also they target in the inner membrane phosphoglycerolipid, mainly cardiolipin. Monoalkylated derivative was synthesized, trialkylated derivative, dialkyl derivative, here 3'6 derivative, here with an attachment here at the 3' position and the 6 position, varying the chain length here, and also numerous 3', 4' dialkyl isomer. The most active compound was the 3'6 dialkyl derivative. You can see some minimal inhibitory concentration in microgram by ml. The dinyl derivative was the most active. We have here the structure, and this branch derivative here also was interesting. The MIC are in the micromolar range, again, resistant Staphylococcus aureus, resistant P. aeruginosa, and other bacteria like coli and cap pneumonia. The broad spectrum antibacterial activity was related to windows of favorable lipophilicity here. The best compound are here. In the plot here of one on MIC, versus calculated log dopé. Donc, the optimal lipophilicity is here in these windows. We expected difficult emergence of bacterial resistance to amphiphilic aminoglycoside due to their different target present in multiple copy in the bacterial membrane, such as lipopolysaccharide in gram-negative bacteria and also phospholipid. In this figure, you can see the evolution of the minimum inhibitory concentration MIC against P. aeruginosa of the D-nonyl derivative in comparison to ciprofloxacin, a fluoroquinolone here. After exposure to half MIC for the mentioned time in day here. The MIC of the D-nonyl derivative remain almost unchanged in comparison to the fluoroquinolone, and the change appear later. You can see the strong change in the MIC here after 5 days, for example, for the fluoroquinolone. Concerning the modulation of gene expression in the antisense approach developed to target, for example, a messenger RNA here with a complementary oligonucleotide to stop the ribosomal machinery, the translation machinery. DNA short fragments were used here, and they are conjugate to small molecule, but were found inefficient ex vivo due to the poor cellular uptake and their rapid hydrolysis by nuclease. Peptide nucleic acid oligomer, PNA, here, you have the structure, B is the base. A class of antisense DNA analogues devoid of charge under physiological condition. They bind perfectly to the RNA and DNA complementary sequence through a Watson-Crick base pairing. PNA shows superior resistance to nuclease and protease than nucleic acid, but unfortunately do not enter in cells. Therefore, they are used conjugated to the cationic vehicle aminoglycoside was attractive. The corresponding conjugate to aminoglycoside should be more soluble in water than the PNA alone, and the conjugation could allow an efficient cellular uptake. A chemical method was developed for the conjugation of PNA to the neamine core. This compound was synthesized using trityl and paramethoxybenzyl groups that can be removed under acidic condition. Here, this compound was conjugated to the protected PNA attached to a solid support. The terminal amino group can react with this group, and the deprotection occur under acidic condition in the same time that release the cleavage from the solid support. This PNA with 16 base was synthesized, and also its fluorescent derivative. The presence of the neamine core allows the cellular uptake of the PNA and an efficient ex vivo activity in stem cells in the micromolar range. It also confers to the conjugate a unique target-specific and a cleavage activity according to the mechanism represented here. A deprotonate amino group here can abstract the hydrogen atom of the 2' hydroxyl group following with an attack at the phosphorus atom here and cleavage, assisted by the protonated here amino group present on the second ring. It is similar to the mechanism used by ribonuclease here. The efficient cellular uptake was demonstrated using a fluorescent PNA conjugate. We do not on the fluorescent PNA without the neamine core do not enter in cells, whereas the conjugate to neamine can be detected in cell. In order to decrease the potential toxic effect due to a potential lack of selectivity related to the presence of 4 positive charge on the neamine PNA conjugate, the glucosamine core here, present in the neamine core, was conjugate to the same PNA, and the fluorescent analog was synthesized. This derivative was synthesized in 14 steps from cheap N-acetyl glucosamine here and was attached to the PNA here. Conjugate were efficiently taken up by the human cells and fairly distributed in both cytosol and nucleus without endosomal entrapment. You can see the fluorescence observed. Thus, an excellent cellular uptake was observed. 100% cellular uptake in stem cells at 0.3 micromolar concentration within 14 hours of incubation. An efficient inhibition of the viral replication was observed here using luciferase reporter introduced in the viral gene. Now I would like to illustrate an approach developed to inhibit the mRNA maturation of the influenza virus that with small molecules, developed in collaboration with a team of Stephen Cusack in Grenoble. In order to leave the nucleus for translation, the viral messenger RNA have to be kept by methylated nucleotide here and here on the sugar, and with 7-methylguanosine terminal nucleotide like this one. The influenza virus polymerase perform replication and transcription of viral messenger RNA in the nucleus of the infected cells. The viral RNA caps is snatched to host pre-messenger RNA bound via their cap to the viral RNA polymerase subunit in order to leave the nucleus for translation in the cytoplasm. Docking study using the RNA polymerase subunit structure obtained by X-ray crystallography suggested that 7-alkyl guanine derivative substituted at position N9 and N2 could be good candidate for inhibiting the viral cap snatching process. Four series of D and 3-alkyl guanine derivative were synthesized, and three derivatives show a very interesting inhibiting effect. Here, for example, this one, with an IC15 of 7 micromolar, 7.5. It was crystallized with polymerase subunit. And this the structure confirmed the binding according to the cap. Unfortunately, the derivatives were not active ex vivo. I would like now to achieve my presentation with more chemistry. More recently, in order to synthesize rapidly highly functionalized 7 and 9 alkyl purines and guanine and the corresponding nucleoside, we develop a one-pot metal-free scalable synthesis using Wills-Meyer reagents, which are usually used for protection of amine. Yeah, they can be generated from, for example, DMF, treated with POCl3 or SOCl2, here to give the iminium salt, and it can be used to protect the corresponding amine here. New highly substituted purine were synthesized, So synthesis begins with this amino dichloroperimidine. In a first step, the pyrimidine in dioxane is refluxed with amine, in the presence of base parasulfines. Benzen sulfonic acid, for example, here in catalytic amount, or if we use an alkylamine in the presence of DIPA, here, the amine is used in stoichiometric proportion, and the nucleophilic substitution occurs very selectively here. Then the addition of the iminium salts or its generation from the amide allow to form the amidine here, and immediately the cyclization occurs with removal of dimethylamine, and thus the purine can be formed. In a variant procedure, this trichloramine, trichloropyrimidine was synthesized here, carrying an amidine function from this dichloro derivative, yes, using the formation of the diazonium. This intermediate can react very efficiently with aromatic amine. Different highly substituted purine were synthesized. In a variant procedure, we synthesize nucleoside starting from this derivative, this ribose derivative, carrying 3 benzoyl group and 1 acetyl group. The reaction with the amidine carrying a free amino group here lead directly to the purine nucleoside in a moderate yield, 37 and 42 yield. The mechanism is this one. We use the TMS trifat, which activates this derivative to lead to this intermediate here. The attack of the amino group allows a selective reaction on the sugar, and immediately the cyclization occurs. This nucleoside with were synthesized. I would like now to thank all people working on this approach in the purine on the purine derivative in Grenoble. Many students working in this field. Our colleague and collaborator at MBL, the group of Stephen Cusack, in molecular modeling in Paris, Isabelle Calvo, the team of Isabelle Calvo. And concerning the antibacterial aminoglycoside, numerous students working on in this field. And we thank a lot the group of Marie-Paul Manchot-Leclerc in Brussels. Thank you for your attention. And thank you to our sponsor.
Thank you, Professor Jean-Luc, for your presentation. Now you have time for some questions. If anyone wants to do any question, please tap on the chat on YouTube or here in Zoom. When wait some questions, I have one question. SARS-CoV is a RNA virus. So would you be possible to think of use drugs against COVID-19? Thinking about this approach of use RNA as a target. I think this. So these polycations compounds, such aminoglycosides or N-amine, can be good scaffolds for designing drugs against COVID-19? You think so?
Oui. Vous m'entendez?
Yes, Professor Jean-Luc. I listen you.
I don't understand. You want to target the RNA?
Yes, I'm asking you if polycation compounds as aminoglycosides or N-amines can be that act in the RNA can be useful scaffolds to design drugs against COVID-19.
Some times ago, several groups modify aminoglycoside to target the HIV RNA. And unfortunately, no antiviral activity were observed. And thus, it should be difficult to target the viral RNA of the coronavirus.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. I don't see no more questions. Donc, if you have no questions, I will thank you again for stay with us, to accept the invitation, to stay with us. In the next time, I think it will be possible to be here in Brazil, don't virtually, but I think the things will be good in the next 2 years, and we will come together in the next symposium. Thank you, Jean-Luc.
Many thanks to you, Francisco. So.
And now I'm call Professor Macroscopic to continue this symposium and to present the last speakers of this morning.
Okay, thank you. Francisco, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think you must promote the Eugene as... Okay, não, Eugene ainda está como está como atendente aqui, não como palestrante. Okay. Well, it's a great pleasure to introduce Professor Eugene Muratov, more than a colleague and a great researcher in cheminformatics field. He's a friend of mine. So if I remember well, I met him in 2017 and in Goiânia, and after just a few words, I realized that he's not a brave researcher, but is a open-minded person. So you have some passions in common, not only cheminformatics, but the sun and the sea too. So, and okay, regarding Professor Eugene Muratov, he's a researcher and associate professor and associate director of the Laboratory for Molecular Modeling at the University of North Carolina at East Hammond School of Pharmacy, Chapel Hill. And we received his master in technology of organic substances from Odessa National Polytechnic University in 2000, and his PhD in organic chemistry in 2004 from the A.V. Bogatsky Physical Chemical Institute. Between 2018 and 2022, he's a visitor professor here in the Universidade Federal da Paraíba in our post-graduation program, pós-graduação em Produtos Naturais, Sintéticos Bioativos. And his research interests are in the areas of cheminformatics, spatial QSAR, quantitative structure, activity relationship, computer-assisted drug design, antiviral research, computational toxicology, and medicinal chemistry. He has co-authored more than 150 peer-reviewed publications and edited 2 books. Okay, Professor Eugene Muratov, please.
Yep, thank you, Marcus. Just want to make sure that everybody could see me and could hear me, and let me start sharing.
I can see you and hear you.
Okay, and hopefully you could see the slides now.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's great. That's great. So thanks a lot for your kind introduction. I could only say in return that it's a pleasure to present here. It's even a bigger pleasure to know you and to have this opportunity of visiting professorship in Paraíba. That's usually the favorite 3 months of the year for me. especially that I'm coming from snow to an amazing place right on the beach, and it's certainly more than a vacation trip for me, because Professor Marcos and me, we work together with pleasure and we work hardly. And out of these 150 papers, like 25 or 30 are joined. And this number is growing yearly. And I hope that for many next years, we will continue like that. And Marcos, you remember that you promised to visit me in North Carolina at once when certainly all this pandemic will be over. And today I will present the studies that some of them I did in University of North Carolina, some of them like we did together with Marcos. And I know that the title of my talk here on the screen looks differently from what was claimed. That's because in the last moment, I decided to make this presentation a little bit broader and to talk not only about one study focused on mixtures, but I also wanted to present some other studies that we did with Marcos, and I found the first typo on my slides. I didn't mention my Paraiba affiliation here. So just want to confirm what Marcos said. I'm also visiting professor in Universidade Federal de Paraíba, and it's my pleasure to be there. So now I would like to talk about the drug combinations as a treatment against COVID-19. This preprint with exactly the same title we published with my another friend, Alexey Zakharov from NCATS, in the very beginning of pandemics. And I double check, and I'm proud to be to tell you that we were the first who spoke about the mixtures as a potential treatment against coronavirus. So why use drug mixtures? So combinations of drug may be beneficial for several reasons. First of all, because of their synergy. So you could achieve the same antiviral effect at lower concentration, comparing to those if drug is used alone. And you could avoid some toxic effects here because of this. Also, combining drugs could restrain the resistance phenomena and increase the selectivity ratio. But certainly, it may also lead to antagonistic interaction when two drugs will neutralize the effect of each other. And it also could lead to drug-drug interaction, side effects, and other complications. Difficulties of modeling the mixtures. So first of all, the lack of the data. There are no enough data to build the models of mixtures, so that's why it's very hard to get the data set. It was especially hard to get the data for coronavirus for SARS-CoV-2. The data did not exist in March or April of the last year where we started. And we basically started the study from scratch. We used text mining and knowledge mining approaches, trying to get at least some idea of the data. And the second problem is how to describe the mixture, especially the complex mixtures, because the standard modeling and description and validation approaches will not work in this case. So the goal of the study is to emphasize the combination therapy as a potential treatment against COVID-19, although here it would be more correct to say as inhibitors of SARS-CoV-2, and to utilize a combination of modern computational approaches with our professional expertise to select the most promising drug combination, and then to validate these nominated combinations in the experiment in BSL-3 lab. The study design is here. So we went to the pharmaceutical collection and to drug bank to identify the drugs that we would like to repurpose. Excuse me. We focused on drug repurposing here because we wanted to deliver our hits to preclinical trials as fast as possible. So we identified all the drugs to repurpose. Then we use a bunch of computational techniques, Robocop and Chematech, that's the text and data mining approaches, standard QSAR techniques we had some models that were useful for us. So we utilize all of this to find the compounds with possible activity against SARS-CoV-2. This resulted in 76 compounds that may give you almost 3,000 of binary combinations. That's still too much to test. And we needed to decrease the number of potential combinations. So here we utilize another pile of the approaches, text mining, chemotext, and COVIDCOP. QSAR approaches is QSAR of drug-drug interactions to eliminate potentially toxic compounds. And still manual selection. So we took a look on the hits, and we were trying to understand which combinations would work better than others. All of this has been done to find the drug combinations with possible synergistic activity against SARS-CoV-2. All of this resulted in 73 combinations that was purchased, prepared, and submitted to antiviral and toxicity assays. And as a result, we got 16 synergistic combinations. That was expected. But also, as a bonus, we have identified 8 antagonistic combinations that were unexpected, although were very valuable, because one of the antagonistic combinations was remdesivir plus hydroxychloroquine, and another combination was remdesivir plus chloroquine. At that time, they were widely used in the hospitals for the patients, and soon after our study, these combinations were removed by FDA from the prescription list. So here is an example of the rationale between the mixture selection. If you would like to achieve the synergy, you cannot select mixtures by luck or blindly. So here we will consider an example of umifenavir or arbidol and emitin that we would combine as the drugs that would hit the different stages of the viral life cycle. It was shown way earlier than us. It was shown somewhere in 80s. Unfortunately, I did not insert the link. It was in the studies of Professor de Klerk. That you will increase the probability of synergistic outcome if you will combine the drugs with different mode of actions that will hit the different stages of viral life cycle. So for instance, here, umifenavir may inhibit viral entry and combine with the viral replication, you will achieve more chances to get the synergistic effect comparing to mixing 2 compounds that will both of which would hit the viral entry or viral egress or viral replication or whatever else. So that was the rationale behind it, and we used computational approaches to learn about the mechanism of action of antiviral and other drugs that we would like to repurpose. And now I will tell a couple of words about the theoretical approaches that we used, because I think that not many people hear the word QSAR or text mining or data mining. So in 5-10 minutes, I will briefly explain the principles of these approaches. QSAR, or quantitative structure activity relationship, is based on 2 very simple postulates. So first of all, the property is the function of the structure. So the structure is defining the property. The structure cannot be related to property itself by computer at least. So you need the descriptor, the number that reflect the structure. And then using computational approaches, you build in this QSAR, or quantitative structure activity relationship, to demonstrate how the changes in the structure will affect the changes in the activity. As you could see here, that now the property is a function of this matrix of descriptors, or pattern matrix. And the second important principle is that similar compounds should have similar properties. So if one compound is active and you could create something similar to it, most likely it would be active as well. Why we trust in our approaches and why these approaches are usually successful, although certainly no warranties. Because of three things: data curation, external validation, and model exploitation. So on this slide, we will talk about the data curation, because that's a key point of any modeling. Another very simple rule: garbage in, garbage out. If you build a model with a dirty data, you will have non-predictive, unsuccessful models. So here we curate both the chemical structure, that the first step here presented in details there, and the bioactivity. Chemical structure. Initial data set, we're removing everything that will not be useful or is different. If we're talking about the small organic molecules, we would remove all inorganics and mixtures. We're cleaning the salts, making other structural conversions, normalizing the specific chemotypes to make sure that all identical fishes are looking the same. Removing the duplicates and checking how it went manually. Then we're analyzing the duplicate because it would help us to address plenty of data quality issues. So this would help to address the intra and interlap experimental variability, which in turn will allow us to exclude the unreliable data sources, to detect and verify activity cliffs. Then calculation of modelability index could tell you whether you could get some models or not. Then modeling itself. And as a result of this modeling, you could identify and correct some suspicious compounds that were most likely mislabeled. And finally, after all these procedures, you get the curated set. Then we're paying a lot of attention for proper validation, both on the standard QSAR and in the QSAR for mixtures, like we did here. And finally, we're applying the models for virtual screening and targeting design of compounds with desired properties. So here we already built, at that point, we already built the QSR models for inhibition of the main protease of coronavirus. We used 2 computational and 1 experimental approach. So we used ligand-based and structure-based approaches. With ligand-based, we collected the data on the SARS-1 emperor, and we built the models for this because this target is highly conserved, and we were hoping that if we will find the inhibitors of SARS-CoV, these compounds, at least some of them, would also inhibit the main protease of SARS-CoV-2. And the crystal structure was already available, and we built the docking models that looks nice and great, but unfortunately did not have any discriminative power. So we decided to retire these models and to use only the ligand-based approaches. In the end, we end up with 41 virtual hits, and 11 of them were available in NCATs. And after the testing, 3 compounds, sulfogolic, scenic river rock, and proglumetazine, were active in antiviral assays in NCATs. So we use these models that we built earlier to identify compounds that may have potential activity on inhibiting main protease of the virus. And we screened the drug bank compounds to find the hits that may have such mechanism of action. We also had a model that was built way, way earlier, and that's another typo here. It was published in 2016. Of drug-drug interactions, because we do not want to recommend the drug combination that then would lead to some complications and undesired effects. So that was used as another structural filter. To model the mixture properties themselves, that's another challenge because you cannot just apply the standard descriptors. So we developed the system of compounds, of descriptors that would consider the mixture as a whole. So the mixture of 2 or 3 compounds as one object, and then it will generate both the traditional simplexes and the descriptors that will be inherent only for mixture. And using the combination of such descriptors, it's possible to estimate the potential synergy and antagonism between the compounds. The validation of mixture models, that's yet another problem, because if you will just apply the standard ways of validation, just throwing up some data points into external set, you will fool yourself, because the information about these compounds and mixtures would already be present in the data set, and you will get highly optimistic estimates of your predictivity that will result in the fail of experimental validation. So here we developed the approach, which we called everything out. We split the mixtures of compounds for training set, that all the binary mixtures of certain number of compounds out set, it will simulate the situation when one compound is known, like from this set, and another compound is unknown. So that the mixtures of one known and one unknown compound, and everything out set will estimate the situation when you predict the completely new mixture. No information about this compound was available, and that's the most rough but the most true estimate of the predictivity of your models for completely new mixtures. So we applied all of these approaches for validating our model, for validating our combinations, and we eliminate a lot of them. To get the information, because March or April of 2020, almost no data exists, we used the Chemotext. That's a web server that has been developed in our lab in UNC Chapel Hill. And we were trying to link our compounds either to coronavirus or some targets that were involved in coronavirus using the papers that has been published before. And here you have the connected term module. That's a direct connection, so something that is already and widely known. You could have the shared term, like for instance, you have connection QC and QA, and A Q2 C Q2. Then you could guess that B may be related to A and C, which is already connected to both Q1 and Q2. And there is also path search module. When asking the questions, you could go from one model to another, like for instance, protein pathway intermediate. Another very useful tool was named Robocop. It was developed by us in collaboration with Renaissance Computing Institute. And Robocop stands for reasoning over biomedical objects linked in knowledge-oriented pathways. That's more than just a text mining approach, that's a data and information mining approach. And it's based on the knowledge graphs. So the knowledge graphs that contain any kind of information. There's information about the drugs, the genetic conditions, the diseases, phenotypes, and so on. And it includes a variety of data sources from a biomedical data translator. That's another big initiative from National Center for Advanced Translational Science. Plenty of other sources and ontologies. And it's constantly updating when a new database is appearing. We try to use it to Robocop. The interaction of Robocop is here. So you have knowledge source interfaces, graph builders, user interfaces, and path rankers. All of them are linked to the backboard to Neo4j, and the user is interacting with them through the user interface. So you could just ask your question. It's a lot of stuff going on the back of Robocop, but then you will get the answers which will be ranked by the probability, and you just dealing with the text. No programming skills are needed to use Robocop. And here is just a sample how the output or how the answer of your question could look like if you would investigate how degreasers affect colitis. You could see which targets they hit and what is the direction of this influence, on which pathway these targets exist, which processes they regulate, and which diseases they could link with. And when we were trying to explain colitis, we found that the same degreasers may also cause asthma because they lead to damage in epithelium tissue, and then depending on where this tissue is located, it could lead to colitis if it's gastrointestinal tract, or if it's respiratory tract, it could lead to asthma. So we applied this software to find the evidence of the synergy of drug combinations. And then in the middle of this project, we have developed another database. We called it COVID-COP. It's completely Robocop based, but it's oriented towards COVID-19 and SARS-CoV-2. It's COVID linked in knowledge-oriented pathways. And it's a biomedical reasoning system combining all available knowledge existing in Robocop and data collected during the COVID-19 pandemic. The data in COVID-COP include drug and clinical trials from drug bank, literature occurrences from COVID-19, viral proteome, COVID-19 phenotypes, and many more. It has been published in bioinformatics. Sorry, I have a preprint. A preprint here, not a bioinformatics link, but the same like paper with the same title has been published in bioinformatics 1 year ago. It described the software in details, and it was very useful for us during our research. So I already presented this slide, and using all of this. Using all of the software and our expertise, we has selected 73 combinations of 38 drugs, and we passed these compounds to our experimental collaborators. In NCATS, the biosafety level 3 lab has been ready for our research, and that's just an example how the output looks like. So mixture is presented as such 36 well plate. 2 wells are for pure compounds, and then it's 5-on-5 concentration combination of 2 drugs. That's how the curves looks like. It's a lot of efforts for reproducibility and data quality of experimental assays in NCATS. Unfortunately, I cannot guide you through all the details, but I know that they pay special attention to this. All the curves has been analyzed for compliance of curve classes, that the curve has a normal shape and does not reflect the cell death that is not caused by. And finally, that's the summary of our results. The synergy is orange, the antagonism is blue. Everything within the confidence interval was considered as additive. And finally, we got 8 antagonistic and 16 synergistic combinations. So that's this plot summarizes the major like results of our study. You could see that remdesivir has 2 mixed interactions. Depending on the concentration, it could be synergy, antagonism, and additivity. Nitazoxanide had a lot of synergistic interactions. Chloroquine, that is not here. We have hydroxychloroquine demonstrated the antagonism with remdesivir, the same as chloroquine, and some additive interactions with other drugs. So remdesivir and amine drugs are presented here, and that's our synergy hits. So sorry, that's our antagonistic examples: remdesivir plus hydroxychloroquine, mefloquine, amodiaquine, and in some concentrations arbidol. I'm sorry, that's my daughter decided to help me to present.
No problem.
She promised to be quiet. Yeah, and the major, so antagonism, we were very surprised to see the hydroxychloroquine and remdesivir, because it was a standard of care at this point, and fortunately it was removed very quickly. And many other amine drugs also demonstrated such behavior. And the major three synergistic combinations are presented here. That's all of them include nitazoxanide in combination with umifenavir, remdesivir, and amodiaquine. We passed this combination to animal studies. We got some success on
Okay, no. Yeah, I think it's working now. But
it looks like.
It looks like, yeah. I'm not
okay,
sure,
that's good.
but I think
Not sure, but it looks like.
Wait,
that's good.
Just 1 minute.
Yep.
Obrigado.
Okay, I think I will have to wait some minutes only for the person can become to the YouTube link. Now we have only 5 persons, but it's growing.
Okay.
As the YouTube was restarted, all the people have to re-enter in the room.
Francisca, and I hope that this 5 people, it's not you, Marcus, 2 interpreters.
No, it's on the YouTube, not here.
Yeah.
It reminded me, it was Eurocusar like long ago on a ship. They rented the cruise ship and on Mediterranean Sea, like amazing, absolutely amazing. The only problem that certainly nobody cared about the presentations because everybody want to see Napoli, for instance, and it was a presenter.
So European Kizar, I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. And it was a presenter, the chair, the guy who will present next, and once it was also the person that was like drunk yesterday, and he was just sleeping between the chairs, between the rows, somewhere in the audience. The funny thing that he was not even from the conference because it was a huge cruise ship, and it was just some drunk schmuck who fell asleep there. Nobody noticed because he was sleeping like between the chairs, and only when he started to snore, they discovered that he was there.
Okay, now,
Incredible.
Now I think we can restart the discussion.
Okay. Let me see. You have one question from Daniel Andrés Grajales Ruiz. I think he's a student, master student in Universidade Federal, a Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais. His question is from drug design area, Kizar is a highly used methodology. How would it bring continuous contributions in the study of the activity against a specific enzyme? I think his question is regarding the near future of the Kizar in the study of the, against the specific enzyme, not multi-target. So this is the first question.
The beauty of QSAR that it doesn't matter what are you going to model. So if you have data, I mean, that's the beauty and that's the major weakness of QSAR. So if you have the data, it doesn't matter whether it's enzyme, protein, or living organism, or some environmental endpoint. My most strange use of QSAR-like approaches, I was trying to predict the success of candidates to our PharmD program in University of North Carolina, and I succeeded. So such approaches are already used, and they will continue to used widely, both in pharma and in academia. Certainly, you need some data to use these approaches, and there you could basically do what we did with our modeling of main protease. So you could get the data on the enzymes that are highly similar. You could get them by homology modeling, for instance, or that you know that they are conserved across like several viruses or organisms, and so on. So you could use old data obtained on something similar. Another possibility is that if you have like a rich machinery and the data you run in high throughput screening, you got the first like 5,000 data points. Number of actors would be small, like 5, 10, 50. And then you like place this data to your computer and you start running the circles. First generation of hits, modeling, second generation of hits, refinement, third generation of hits, and at some point you will hit the hit that looks promising because it's new chemotype, good activity, good selectivity, and you will start running the MedChem optimization, where QSAR approaches would also be highly used. In generic series of compounds, what to put where, like that's how QSAR has started. And then you would do the ADMEA modification and optimization. And there you should have like a pile of QSR models that we built previously for all the ADMEA properties that you could just apply and select your hit compounds better. So very briefly, that's the current use and at least the nearest future of QSR drug discovery.
Okay, thank you, Eugene. I have one question. Well, yesterday you saw the lecture of Professor Alexander Varnek, and you realized that now you have a very huge database, compound databases, 10 to 12, 10, 10, 10, 20, 10 to 20 compounds database. So regarding the future of the molecular descriptors to express the chemical space of this huge database, you think you already have enough descriptors to encode this chemical space, or it's possible, or you need some more descriptors to perform some virtual screening from these databases? And what your opinion regarding the two-dimensional descriptors and the three-dimensional descriptors? What is more suitable for the big data?
Okay, thanks. So, Marcos, it's you just confirmed that you have Italian and in particular Napolitanian roots, because instead of one question, you asked me 5.
Sure, sorry. It's in the blood. So
yep. And I actually like it. So first of all, it's never enough. On the first side, we have plenty of descriptors that could address everything. They're like structure, they're based on topological formula, they're fragment based, they're fingerprints, they're whole molecule. They could be calculated from smiles, from inches, and so on. So on the first side, it's enough. And really, absolutely nobody care about yet another set of fragments or fingerprints or functions describing the after-correlation state and so on. On the other hand, these descriptors has several drawbacks, and one of them that like huge, detailed, very well working descriptors are slow. And easy to calculate descriptors do not work perfectly all the time. So thinking about the generating some descriptors of not compounds, but representing the group of compounds for covering the huge data of 40 billion compounds, because even from smiles, it takes time to calculate descriptors for 40 billion smile records. If instead you could reduce it for, I don't know, 400,000 and calculate descriptors for the groups, and then if needed to expand inside the group, definitely there is a need. Just yet another fingerprint, no. And it's not only fingerprint, it's any type of descriptors that already exist, like new compa-like descriptors, new SERPs-like descriptors, new dragon-like descriptors. No, they are working very well. They are useful. You could calculate it for like huge number of compounds. It will take some time, but still you could operate with them. Whether such descriptors, as I described, would be invented in the nearest future, I do not know, but I think that that's the next step. 2D versus 3D, for big data, definitely 2D. 3D could be calculated for already reduced data for fine tuning, but for all these billions of compounds, that's 2D. Overall, I still prefer 2D if possible, and 95% of all existing QSAR studies are done on 2D level, because there are like plenty of drawbacks for 3D and 4D descriptors. They're absolutely needed if stereochemistry and chirality are important. And they are not really helpful when you could solve the task on topological level. And that's still majority of tasks are like this. So for big data, you should start from 2D and then go to 3D or 4D if necessary.
Okay, thank you very much, Eugenie. I think you don't have more questions. I'd like to thank you for excellent talk. And now you have a section of students presentation. And like, okay, thank you again, Eugenie. And
thank you very much. I will stop sharing, and yeah, that was my big pleasure to present, and I really look forward to see all of you in person soon.
Certainly, I hope to. And now I would like to introduce the next moderator of the section of students, Professor. Yeah, is already online. Yeah. José Alexandre de Souza Luiz. He's a medicinal chemistry researcher, and currently he is associate professor of the Universidade Federal de Campina Grande. Please, Professor Alexandre, it's up to you now.
Good morning.
Good morning,
I am
Professor
Alexandre Luiz, and go start to session presentation of today. Do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, Alexandre.
And see you too.
Good morning. We are opening the work presentation session. I inform that speakers will have 10 minutes to make their presentation. After the presentation, we will have 5 minutes for questions. So let's go to the first presentation, which is the work entitled One moment, please. Effect of Bacardi trimetallase essential oil in obese mice on a right fat diet. The speaker is Gabriela Bueno. Okay?
Please, Hipólito, Gabriela must be promoted para, okay.
Gabriela is present?
Yes, right now he's entering the room.
Hello.
Hello, Gabriela.
Hello.
Can start.
Okay. Just a minute. Can you see?
Yeah, you
Yes.
can.
Okay. Okay. So, good morning for everyone. My name is Gabriela Bueno. I am a PhD student at São Paulo State University, Campus Botucatu. And I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity of presenting the results of my research. The title of my presentation is Effect of Baccharis essential oil in obese mice on a high-fat diet. Currently, obesity has become a global health issue and referred to as an epidemic. 2.8 million people die each year from being overweight. In the world, in 2016, 1.9 billion people were overweight and 650 million people were considered obese. In Brazil, over 10 years, there was an increase of 7.5% in the incidence of obesity among women and 6.7% among men. This data indicates that obesity is a global health problem. Obesity is characterized as a metabolic disorder that is associated with a low-grade chronic inflammation. In addition, it has been linked to diseases such as type 2 diabetes mellitus and cardiovascular disease. The increase in energy consumption, combined with a low energy expenditure, generates an increase in adipocytes, both in size and volume. This increase leads a local mechanical stress that can promote an inflammatory response in tissue, leading to an imbalance in the production of pro-inflammatories and anti-inflammatory cytokines, causing insulin resistance, hepatic lipogenesis, increased triglycerides in the liver, and a condition of dyslipidemia. All these obesity-related complications make it a multifactorial disease that favors the emergence of other metabolic diseases. There are currently some drugs approved for the treatment of obesity, but they are related to many side effects such as insomnia, gastrointestinal disturbance, gallstones, and reduced kidney function. Therefore, new therapies, alternatives for the treatments of obesity are needed. Baccharis is popularly known as Caucasian. It is a Brazilian native plant and is used in the population for weight loss, diabetes, and hypertension. In addition, its analgesic, antimicrobial, and anti-inflammatory action has already been proven. So, given the data, the objective of the work was to evaluate the effect of high-fat diet intake in C57BLJ6 male mice, and the effect of Baccharis essential oil on the changes caused by this diet. To carry out this work, we used C57BLJ6 male mice, named black mice. These animals were divided into two groups, those that received a high-fat diet and those that received the standard diet for 12 weeks. Before and after the treatment, glucose and insulin tolerance tests was performed. Treatments were carried out for 31 days. The animals were subdivided into 5 treatments. One group received the standard diet and vehicle treatment. Another group received the high-fat diet and the vehicle treatment. And other 3 groups received the high-fat diet and bacteries at the 3 different doses, 1, 10, and 100 milligrams per kilograms. The body mass was evaluated during the weeks, and collected material was submitted to biochemical and morphological analysis. In the statistical analysis, the minimal significance level was 5%. Now, I will show here only the relevant results which the bacteries was real effect. In this graph, we can see the evolution of the animal's body mass. The high-fat diet was able to increase the body mass of these animals from the 3rd week until the end of induction. But the bacteries was not able to reverse this increase. In the adiposity index, we can observe that the induction of obesity with the high-fat diet was also effective, as it increased in all the groups that received the diet, although the bacteries was not able to reverse this increase. We evaluated the alanine aminotransferase that is related to liver damage, and it was possible to observe that the animals feed with high-fat diet showed a significant increase in the ALT levels compared with the standard group. And only bacteries at the dose of 1 milligrams per kilograms was able to revert this increase. In this graph, we observed that animals feed with high-fat diet showed increase in ADL levels, and the bacteries was able to reverse this increase in doses of 1 and 10 milligrams per kilograms. To validate obesity induction, we performed glucose and insulin tolerance tests with 9 weeks induction before the treatments. A glycemic curve was performed 120 minutes after the administration of glucose and insulin. And from this curve, the area under the curve of these results was calculated. We can observe that in the GTT, 2 groups of obese mice showed a significant increase in the glucose response compared with the standard group. The same was observed in the ITT, where these 2 groups showed an increase when compared with the standard group. After the treatments and the 12 weeks of induction, the same test was applied, and we can see that in the graph C, there was a significant increase in the high-fat diet group compared with the standard group. The same was observed in the ITT. This indicates that high-fat diet was able to induce insulin resistance. Despite this, the bacteries at the three different doses was not able to reverse this situation. So, to assess the possible anti-inflammatory effect of bacteries, we evaluated the IL-10. IL-10 is an anti-inflammatory cytokine that is produced by Treg cells and is associated with magnetization of M2 macrophages and insulin sensitive. In addition, IL-10 decreases inflammation and conversion from white adipose tissue to brown adipose tissue. Brown adipose tissue is the site of heat production, and increased activity leads to weight loss. In this graph, we can see that all groups of animals treated with the Baccharis significantly increase the IL-10 levels when compared with the standard group. The increase of IL-10 in the three groups that received Baccharis at the three different doses indicates this anti-inflammatory action, which may contribute to the transformation of the white adipose tissue into brown adipose tissue, consequently activating the thermogenic pathway. So, in conclusion, a high-fat diet offered for 12 weeks to the animals was able to induce the liver damage, dyslipidemia, and insulin resistance. And the Baccharis showed hepatoprotective and anti-inflammatory action, indicating a therapeutic potential for obesity and its comorbidities. These are my main reference, and thank you.
Okay, Gabriela. Congratulations on the great presentation.
Thank you.
Does anyone have a question? We'll have 5 minutes for questions. So let's go for the next presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one question in the chat. I can read the question. The question in the chat is, Gabriela, did you try to identify the main bioactive compounds?
I can't understand.
The question is if you try to identify the main bioactive compounds of the plant that you use in your study.
Os compostos bioativos. We characterized the biochemical activity compostos. I don't know how can I say. Sorry.
Isso. A pergunta é exatamente se você tentou identificar os principais compostos bioativos da sua planta.
Eu posso responder em português? Acho que fica mais claro. Então,
sim.
Essa avaliação, né, fitoquímica da planta, ela foi realizada, nós temos parceria, né, com outro grupo. Ela foi realizada e nós vimos assim os compostos majoritários. Então, esse óleo essencial, ele é composto principalmente pelo acetato de carquegila e carquejol, né? Então, a gente tem essa ideia, porém, acho que futuros estudos poderiam até trabalhar com, de repente, com o efeito desses compostos isolados, né? Mas foi feito.
It was only this question in the chat. So thank you so much, Gabriela.
Thank you.
Alexandre, you can continue.
Let's go to next presentation. The next presentation is virtual screening based on covalent docking and MMPBSA calculation predict the drugs neratinib, sacubitril, alprostadil, tandolapril, and florbetapir as promising cruzaine inhibitors useful against Chagas disease. The speaker is Lucas Gabriel dos Santos Costa. Ok, Lucas, can start.
Ok, bom dia. Estão me ouvindo?
Yes, yes.
Posso começar?
Yes.
Okay. Bom dia a todos. Meu nome é Lucas Gabriel, dos Santos Costa. Sou estudante de 4º período do curso de farmácia na Faculdade Estácio e vou apresentar meu trabalho intitulado Triagem Virtual, baseado em docking covalente e cálculos de MMPBSA que predizem os medicamentos neratinib, sacubitril, alprostadil, tandolapril e florbetapir como promissores inibidores de cruzaína, úteis contra a doença de Chagas. É orientado pelo professor Igor Nascimento. As doenças negligenciadas são um grupo de doenças parasitárias e bacterianas que afetam milhares de pessoas em diversos países. Esse tipo de doença são mais prevalentes na população que vive em situação de pobreza e em ambientes sem saneamento básico. Elas são chamadas de doenças negligenciadas porque há pouco interesse de investimento no desenvolvimento de medicamentos para o tratamento dessas doenças, por apresentar baixo potencial de retorno lucrativo, tendo em vista que atinge a maioria da população em situação de pobreza. Dentre essas doenças negligenciadas, podemos destacar a doença de Chagas. Ela tem se tornado uma grande preocupação da saúde mundial, devido ao grande aumento de número de casos, com estimativa de 6 a 7 milhões de infectados e cerca de 21 milhões em situação de risco. Mesmo com esses dados alarmantes, é interessante mencionar que existem apenas 2 medicamentos aprovados para o tratamento da doença de Chagas, que são o nifurtimox e o benznidazol, que apesar de serem eficazes, eles apresentam grande incidência de efeitos colaterais. Atualmente, um dos alvos mais explorados na descoberta de novos medicamentos contra a doença de Chagas está sendo a cruzaína. Baseado no fato que essa enzima é uma das mais importantes do parasita, que ela participa de vários processos importantes do parasita e ela está presente em todas as fases de vida do parasita. Recentemente, uma das estratégias que tem ganhado destaque na descoberta de novos medicamentos é o reposicionamento de fármacos. Porque com esse método é possível encontrar novas indicações clínicas para fármacos já aprovados clinicamente, que apresentam um perfil de segurança e eficácia conhecidos. O reposicionamento de fármacos ele pode ser realizado também utilizando métodos computacionais, reduzindo assim o tempo relacionado ao processo de descoberta, que foi o método utilizado na nossa pesquisa. Como eu tinha falado, a doença de Chagas tem se tornado uma grande preocupação global, que ela é endêmica em 21 países e tem tido grande aumento no número de casos. E ainda assim apresentam um arsenal terapêutico restrito para o tratamento dessa doença, o que justifica o investimento em pesquisa para a descoberta de novos fármacos contra a doença de Chagas. Para essa nova descoberta, a gente pode utilizar o reposicionamento de fármacos, tem ganhado grande destaque, e uma das vantagens é evitar problemas futuros relacionados à toxicidade e à farmacocinética inadequada. Dentre dos objetivos do nosso trabalho, o objetivo geral foi identificar, dentre os fármacos, os medicamentos aprovados pelo FDA, novos compostos que possam ser úteis contra a cruzaína. Os objetivos específicos foram selecionar e preparar a biblioteca de ligantes, selecionar e preparar o alvo, que é a cruzaína, conduzir um estudo de docking covalente para identificar possíveis inibidores de cruzaína, realizar cálculos de MMPBSA e, por fim, analisar as interações das conformações mais estáveis das moléculas encontradas em relação à cruzaína. Como materiais e métodos do nosso trabalho, foram utilizados para a obtenção da cruzaína à base de dados do PDB, para a obtenção dos ligantes à base de dados do zinc, para os estudos de docking covalente foi utilizado o software Gold, para os cálculos de RMSD no processo de redocking foi utilizado o software PyMol, para a análise conformacional da estrutura dos ligantes foi utilizado o software Marvin, para a minimização de energia e correção do ângulo de ligação foi utilizado o software Argus Lab, para a obtenção dos arquivos de trajetória utilizados no cálculo de MMPBSA foi utilizado o software Gromax, para gerar segurança 3D o software Quimera, para análise para análise de interações o software Discovery Studio. Aqui a gente chega nos resultados, e aí foi o seguinte: dentre os PDBs da cruzaína disponíveis com ligantes covalentes, foram realizados cálculos de RMSD para a escolha do algoritmo mais adequado para os procedimentos de docking covalente. Com base nisso, foi escolhido o PDB-1-EWO, que está aqui destacado nessa tabela 1. E o algoritmo foi o QMPLP. Esses mesmos PDBs foram analisados em relação ao fit score, as interações com os principais resíduos e o score covalente, para determinar os valores padrões que seriam utilizados na triagem. E esses valores foram ter o fit score acima de 55, o covalent score acima de 90 e apresentar interações com os principais resíduos, que são o resíduo de glicina 23, cisteína 25, glicina 65, glutamato 205 e histidina 159. Aí, determinando esses valores padrões, foi realizado o processo de triagem. Inicialmente, foi realizada uma análise visual dos 1.615 compostos aprovados pelo FDA, na base do zinc, e desses compostos foram selecionados 241, que apresentaram grupos químicos que interagem covalentemente com o resíduo de cisteína 25 da cruzaína, como esses grupos podem ser o éster, carbono alfa halogenado, nitrila, amida, alcinos e alcenos. Nesses 241 compostos, foi realizado um processo de docking covalente, um procedimento, e com base nesses valores padrões definidos anteriormente, foram selecionados os 10 melhores compostos com fit score acima de 55, covalent score acima de 90, e também tinha que apresentar interações com os principais resíduos. Esses compostos que foram selecionados, os 10 melhores, estão apresentados aqui na tabela 2. Interessantemente, com a busca na literatura que a gente fez, foi possível identificar que alguns compostos desses 10 já apresentaram atividades em ensaios celulares contra o Trypanosoma cruzi. Então, alguns já tinham, em estudos antigos, apresentaram essa atividade contra o Trypanosoma cruzi. Logo após, foi realizado um rescore da triagem utilizando cálculos de MMPBSA para determinar a energia de ligação e das principais interações, e as principais interações envolvidas na formação do complexo fármaco-cruzaína. Dessa forma, os fármacos neratinib, sacubitril, o aprostadil, trandolapril e florbetapi se destacaram como melhores na energia de ligação, sendo as interações de Van der Waals as mais importantes na formação do complexo e na formação desse complexo. Como a gente pode ver aqui nesse slide, mostra a estrutura química desses 5 melhores compostos, obtidos através dessa triagem que a gente realizou. Tem o trandolapril, sacubitril, o florbetapi, o aprostadil e o neratinib. Desses 5 melhores compostos, foi calculado também a contribuição energética por resíduo, utilizando também cálculos de MMPBSA. Foi observado que as melhores contribuições foram nos resíduos de cisteína 25, leucina 67 e aspartato 135. Além disso, o fármaco que obteve melhor energia de ligação com os resíduos importantes na inibição de cruzaína foi o neratinib. E os resíduos que ele apresentou interação foram de glicina 23, cisteína 25, histidina 159 e glutamato 205. Finalmente, foi realizada uma análise das interações do fármaco com a cruzaína, após uma simulação de dinâmica molecular, utilizando a conformação mais estável. Foi observado que os compostos continuaram interagindo com os resíduos catalíticos de cisteína 25 e histidina 159. Além disso, todos os 5 compostos interagindo com a leucina 67, aspartato 158 e alanina 133, semelhante a inibidores da cruzaína que já são conhecidos e foram reportados em outros trabalhos. Esses resultados sugerem que os fármacos podem ser promissores em ensaios biológicos contra a cruzaína. Então, foi mais um tipo de validação que a gente conseguiu fazer nesse sentido, fazendo essa análise. Para concluir, o nosso protocolo de triagem virtual identificou 5 novos medicamentos que podem ser úteis contra a doença de Chagas, e os medicamentos neratinib, sacubitril, alprostadil, trandolapril e flobertapib demonstraram os melhores resultados no docking covalente e nos cálculos de MMPBSA. Que esses resultados sugerem que esses novos medicamentos encontrados podem ser avaliados em testes, ensaios in vitro e in vivo para demonstrar o seu potencial contra a doença de Chagas. Aqui algumas referências do nosso trabalho e queria agradecer a Estácio por proporcionar o projeto de pesquisa de iniciação científica com a qual faço parte e seria só isso. Muito obrigado.
Ok, Lucas. Congratulations.
Desculpe, eu não entendi.
Any questions?
Eu vou fazer uma aqui verbal. Parabéns, Lucas, pelo seu trabalho. De fato, essa estratégia do reposicionamento de drogas é uma coisa muito interessante e já tem a vantagem de, como é uma droga que já está comercial, aquelas problemas relacionados à barreira farmacocinética certamente já foram resolvidas, ou seja, é uma droga que de fato a gente sabe que tem absorção, tem distribuição, conhece o metabolismo, a toxicidade, então a gente já parte de um pressuposto bastante interessante e eu queria saber exatamente esses próximos passos, se vocês de fato vão fazer esses testes in vitro, tanto na cruzaína, eu sei que o professor Tiago tem parceria com o pessoal de Minas Gerais que trabalha com a cruzaína, o pessoal da Fiocruz também, da Bahia, que faz esses testes, e se vocês vão, de fato, fazer a continuidade disso para ver se, de fato, essa seleção, de fato, indicou drogas com esse potencial de ter um segundo uso.
Então, muito obrigado pelos elogios. Assim, o nosso projeto de pesquisa está iniciando agora, nosso grupo. Então, mas os próximos passos do nosso trabalho é exatamente adquirir esses medicamentos e conseguir algumas parcerias para a gente poder realizar esses testes biológicos, ensaios biológicos, para comprovar se essas drogas realmente têm esse potencial e se podem evoluir nesse processo de inibição da cruzaína, para a gente comprovar se realmente esse efeito ele é alcançado.
Ok. Any question? Questions, please. Okay, Lucas. Let's go to the next presentation, which is Pharmacobotanical Study of Aerial Vegetative Organs of Senna splendida leguminosa, a species of ethnomedicinal interest. The speaker is Flávio Souza Souto.
Hipólito e Marrata, por favor, se puderem fazer a apresentação. Flávio, ele teve problemas de conexão e ele gravou a apresentação dele, que vai ser apresentada aqui.
Okay. Let's go to the next. The next presentation is modulation of matrix metalloproteinases exerted by citral in the healing of gastric ulcers in eutrophic and obese mice. The speaker is Rai Ohara. Rai, my pronunciation is correct. Rai Ohara? Hie Ohara?
Hie Ohara, yes.
Okay, excuse me.
1 minute.
Can you start?
Okay, good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting to oral presentation. My name is Hie Ohara. I'm doctoral student in general and applied biology at São Paulo State University. And today I will present my study entitled Modulation of Matrix Metalloproteinases Exerted by Citral in the Healing of Gastric Ulcers in Eutrophic in Obese Mice. Well, in Brazil, 60% of adult population is overweight and 25% are obese. Obesity is characterized by the increasing of adipose tissue due to an imbalance between energy consumption and expenditure. So since adipose tissue is a natural producer of pro-inflammatory cytokines, its increase leads to a low-grade inflammatory condition. And thus, in stomach, obesity causes an imbalance between aggressive and protective factors, raising the susceptibility to the development of gastric ulcers and a difficulty in the healing process. Besides, we have alterations in the enzymatic activity of matrix metalloproteinases that are intimately involved in healing process. The current therapy used for the treatment of gastric ulcers is not that effective because the medications provoke several side effects, which makes necessary some intervals in the treatment. So in the gaps of treatments, the recurrence of lesions is very frequent. Considering this multifactorial scenario, one alternative is the search for multi-target molecules like monoterpenes that are being highly explored for the treatment of gastrointestinal disorders. And for this study, we choose citral, that is a monoterpene already tested by our group, and it has an anti-inflammatory effect well described in gastric ulcer healing. So the goal of this study was to evaluate the pharmacological effects of citral on healing process of gastric lesions in eutrophic and obese mice. For that, 57 black mice were divided into two groups. The first one was fed with a standard diet, and the former with high-fat diet with 60% of calories from lipids. After 12 weeks, the animals underwent the induction of gastric ulcers, where they were anesthetized with isoflurane, laparotomized, and we administered 80% acetic acid in stomach wall during 20 seconds. The day after the induction surgery, the animals were early treated with vehicle, twin 81% used as a negative control, lansoprazole 30 milligram per kilogram, a drug currently used for the treatment of gastric ulcers, and citral in 3 doses, C1, C2, and C3, respectively 30, 100, and 300 milligram per kilogram. These treatments were given early, once a day, during 10 days, and the next day, the animals were euthanized and their tissues were collected for analysis. As results, in the first graph, we can see the evaluation of body weight with a 50% increase in animals fed with high-fat diet compared with animals that received the standard diet. And in the graph on the right, we verified that mice that received high-fat diet had a 2.5-fold increase in the adiposity index, indicating the effectiveness of obesity induction. For macroscopic characterization of the lesions, we classified it in two parts based on the study of Xing and collaborators. The ulcer, this central area represented by the line A here in red, and the lesion age, this protruding area around the ulcers, that represent the recovery tissue. Comparing this parameters, we did not see any difference between the groups that underwent different diets or treatments. For further investigation, we quantified matrix metalloproteinases that are enzymes intimately involved in proliferation of the recovery tissue process. Metalloproteinases coordinates the degradation and synthesis of injured tissues, playing a pivotal role in healing process. While MMP2, matrix metalloproteinase 2, is secreted by fibroblasts and acts in the latter phase of healing, mainly on the conclusion of healing process. Its activity did not vary between the different diet and treatment groups. On the other hand, the matrix metalloproteinase 9, which is secreted by leukocytes and keratinocytes, plays an essential role in the acute and the early phase of lesion healing. So these enzymes are secreted as pro-MMP9, an intermediate form that is inactive. The inactive forms depends on several factors to be cleaved to its active forms. In these factors, we can include the activity of other matrix metalloproteinases, redox, and inflammatory environments. In the first graph, we can see among animals fed with high-fat diet, the group treated with citro at the dose of 100 milligrams per kilogram reduced MMP9 synthesis by 50% compared to the group treated with vehicle. The lesions of animals treated with citro at the same dose also presented a reduction of active matrix metalloproteinase 9. So, since MMP9 levels reduces throughout the healing process, this reduction may indicate that the treatment with citro in mice fed with HFD, fed with high-fat diet, accelerated this process. But to verify this hypothesis, we are performing the same experiment in an earlier phase of healing. So, as conclusion, although we did not detect macroscopic changes, we found that in obese mice, treatment for 10 days with citro at a dose of 100 milligrams per kilogram reduced the matrix metalloproteinase 9 activity, indicating that the healing process may be accelerated in this group. These are the references that I used to this presentation, and thank you.
Okay, here. Congratulations on the presentation, and sorry for bad pronunciation for your name.
No problem. Thank you.
one question for you. Vital should be rapidly metabolized.
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Citral should be rapidly metabolized. Have you evaluated its major metabolites?
No, we did not evaluate the metabolites of citral. It's a step that is another aim of the studies of the lab, but we did not evaluate yet.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
This question.
Yes, I think yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
More any question? So let's go.
Mahatma, please, Mahatma, por favor, coloque a apresentação de Flávio. It was the last presentation. Flávio is not here, but he sent his presentation, and he is in the chat on the YouTube. If you have any question, he is with us.
Good morning, my name is Flávio Souto, and my work is entitled Pharmacobotanical Study of Aerovegetative Organs of Senesplenda leguminosae, a species of ethnomedicinal interest, supervised by Professor Fátima Agra, in collaboration with Ednalva Alves and Anauara Lima e Silva. The genus Sena comprises about 350 species distributed mainly in the Americas region. Senesplendida is a species of ethnomedicinal interest native to Brazil. This species is popularly known as Fedegoso Grande and Feijão Bravo, used in the treatment of bronchitis, rheumatism, anemia, and inflammation. The species has a wide distribution in Brazil, and also occurs in Bolivia and Paraguay. Given its ethnomedicinal importance, a pharmacobotanical study of aerovegetative organs of Senesplenda was carried out with the aim of raising morphoanatomical data, which could contribute to the taxonomy and quality control of its ethnodrugs. Paradermal sections were performed on both surfaces of the leaflet's blades and transverse sections of leaflet's blade, mid, petioles, hacks, and stem of Senesplenda. The sections were cleared using sodium hypochlorite, neutralized with acetic acid, washed in distilled water, and stained. The transverse sections with saffron blue and the paraderm sections with safranina. The sections were demounted in glycerin, analyzed and photographed using light microscope. Stoichemical analysis in cross-sections of the mesophyll, midrib, petiole, hacks and stem fresh of Senesplenda using specific reagents. The sections were mounted in glycerin and examined under a light microscope. Senesplenda has a sub-shrubby to shrubby habit, stem cylindrical, glabrous, leaf with 4 leaflets, leaflets elliptical, oblongo-narrowly ovate. Honest floral nectary on the hacks above the first pair of leaflets. The stipules are falcates and the leaflets are glabrous on both surfaces. In transverse sections, the stem has the vascular stem symphonostellic ectoploid continuous, consisting of a single circular vascular bundles and a well-developed medullary parenchyma. The vascular system is collateral and also observing the Hax, Petioles, and Midep. The petioles has a semicircular outline. The vascular system is formed by 6 bundles, 4 organized in the central region and 2 towards the adaxial surface. The Hax has a circular outline. The vascular system is formed by a single circular central bundle and 2 accessory bundles facing the adaxial surface. The midrib in cross-section has a convex flat outline. The vascular system consisting of a single vascular bundle in the shape of an arc, surrounded by a discontinuous sclerenchyma layers. Druce tips in organic dioblasts were observed in the phloem, while prismatic crystals occurs close to the sclerenchyma beam. The mesophyll is dorsiventral with unistatic palisade parenchyma and the sponge parenchyma with 4 or 5 layers of cells with irregular shapes. The left shore acute eddy covered by a thick and smooth cuticle. The epidermis cells has sinuous and cline walls on both surfaces. The leaflet is hypostomatic with an isocytic and parasitic stomach only on the abaxial surface. Histochemical tests of the stem revealed the occurrence of phenolic compounds in the cortical and medullary parenchyma, proteins on vascular bundles, alkaloids in the medullary parenchyma, and sclerenchyma and xylem lignified. The histochemical tests of the leaf revealed the occurrence of starch in the mesophyll, lipids in the midrib epidermis, alkaloids in the medullary parenchyma on the petiole, phenolic compounds in the medullary parenchyma of the petiole, and proteins in the fundamental parenchyma of the Hax and in the vascular region. The leaf anatomical characters of the cortical region of the stem, petiole, Hax, and midrib, in addition to their vascular organization, constitute of a set of useful characters for the recognition of senescent splendor, as well as its anatomical differentiation from senescent species already reported in the literature. Histochemical tests indicate the presence of starch, structural and non-structural phenolic compounds, alkaloids, and proteins in various parts of the leaf and stem of this species, supporting its medicinal potential. We are grateful to the Coordenação de Aperfeiçoamento do Pessoal do Nível Superior for the scholarships awarded to the first author, to the Conselho Nacional de Desenvolvimento Científico e Tecnológico for the great award to Professor Fátima Agra, the Universidade Federal de Pernambuco and Programa de Pós-Graduação em Biologia Vegetal, as well as the Universidade Federal da Paraíba for the Tax Farm Structure.
Alexandre, you can take the talk again.
Okay.
Alexandre, you can take the again.
Okay.
Alexandre, you can
I think you have the same problem again. If the
Any questions? Okay. Let's go to the next presentation. A study of the larvicide activity and toxicity of Humulus lupulus extract and bee hope residue, part 1. Larvicide activity in Aedes aegypti. The speaker is Nayana Le.
Sorry, Alexandre, and I understand the message, so she cannot present her work. So I think this section is closed now because it was the last presentation.
Okay. Then.
So thank you a lot, Alexandre, for your contribution. And the section is closed. Please, Francisco. And we have some numbers of your symposium. If you think that it's suitable to show now for the audience, I can show just few slides of the number of the signal people and abstracts and so on.
Okay, Marcos. I think now is the closing ceremony. You can present this and do the books for the selected works.
Okay.
And for each which is in the YouTube chat.
So I first I show the numbers, and after you can reward the audience with the books. And please let me know if you can see my presentation. Let me share. Can you see?
Yes.
So, okay,
Present.
There is just some numbers. I will speak quickly about the numbers of the Simpósio of Produtos Naturais, Sintéticos Bioativos e Seus Potenciais Terapêuticos. And the Simpósio, 137 people was registered. From this registered people, more than 83% was students. These people, registered people, undergraduate students is more than 34%, master students 19%, and almost 30% for PhD students. We have 17 abstracts published in the MultiNet platform, in SciForum platform. And for people who was registered in your symposium, okay, most of them is from Paraíba, but you have a significant number of signal up of Ceará, Pernambuco, and São Paulo. You can see in this map from the light blue into the dark blue, Paraíba, more the big number of the registers, but significant number of Ceará, Pernambuco, Alagoas, and São Paulo too. Regarding the different institutions spread in the Brazil, mainly in Paraíba, Pernambuco, Ceará, Rio de Janeiro, and São Paulo. So we have 12 states, institutions spread in 12 states. We like to thank the speakers, of course,
Marcus,
the moderators.
I'm sorry, Marcus. Your presentation is freezing. You not pass the slides.
Oh, so let's try again. Moment. Can you see the next slide now?
No.
Okay, I change the
now
the configuration. Sorry. Pause share. Let me do again. Sorry again. You share. I share my screen. I think it's easier. Sure. Can you see my screen?
No, it's the same. I have to think to put in the full screen in the PowerPoint.
Now, can you see?
Yes.
And please, let me know if you can see the next slides. So I, wait.
Okay, it's working.
It's working now? Okay, okay, thanks a lot, Francisco. Okay, but as I already said before, 137 people registered, more than 83% are graduate students. Undergraduate students, more than 34, 19% master, and the most 30% PhD students. And we have more, 70 abstracts published in Multinet platform. And as I said before, but you cannot see, in this map, from the light blue into the dark blue is the number of the registered people registered in your symposium. Okay, most of them are from Paraíba, but you have significant number of registers from Ceará, Pernambuco, Alagoas, and São Paulo. From the institutions, these people are obviously from different institutions. They're spread in 12 states in Brazil. The number of the institutions from Ceará is 5 in the dark green. And then the light green, just only one, Minas, Bahia.
Thank you very much to everyone for participating and registering for the event. I also thank all colleagues from the organizing committee. I also want to thank Eliezer and Lidiane from IDEP UFPB for their technical support, and the UEPB team, led by Professor Francisco Jamie.
So I don't know what's happened now. You know, have some English, so I can start again. Okay, I can continue. So, and the institutions, mainly in Ceará, Paraíba, Pernambuco, São Paulo, and Rio de Janeiro. Well, here you have the speakers and the moderators we would like to thank, and the committee. But okay, Francisco, I just to stop share my screen. It's up to you.
Okay, I have problem with my video, but I think I can talk. I went to grateful the Consulado Francês that permit this event is happening. All the speakers, as Marcos called, all the committee that is present in this slide, all the students and the other research that will participate in our event. And the last thing that we will doing is perform a gift for the presents. All the people, all the students that are present in the YouTube will receive a book Marcos can show the books that we have to give to you. So I'm called to all the people, all the students that are present, students, postdoc, write your name and your institution in the YouTube chat, or you can send to you the books. Vou falar aqui em português, para se por acaso alguém não entende perfeitamente o inglês, nós vamos dar livros para todos os que estiverem assistindo o chat pelo YouTube. Todos que tiveram os trabalhos selecionados vão receber os livros, efetivamente merecem pela qualidade dos trabalhos. E todos os demais que estão assistindo aqui no chat do YouTube, a gente pede para que coloquem os nomes e as instituições para que a gente possa enviar para vocês os livros que nós vamos dar para vocês. São 2 títulos que tem como autores, um sou eu e o professor Tiago da UFAL, e o outro é professor Marcos, professora Luciana, Scott, professor Margarete e professor Matheus da UFPB, todos relacionados à área da química medicinal, química farmacêutica.
Se quiser, eu posso mostrar aqui as capas, se você acharem conveniente.
Sim.
Eu vou, então, de novo, compartilhar aqui a tela. Ok. Share.
Meu vídeo voltou.
Ok, estou compartilhando. Por favor, me diga se está vendo a minha tela. Please.
Sim, yes.
Ok. Usamos os livros, o que você comentou, né, o de doenças negligenciadas, editado por você e por Tiago Mendonça Aquino, doenças negligenciadas sob a ótica da química medicinal, claro, e Natural Products and Drug Discovery from Pharmacochemistry to Pharmacological Approaches, editado por a professora Margarete, Luciana Scott, eu e Matheus Feitosa. Então são esses 2 livros que vamos distribuir. Eu vou parar aqui o compartilhamento de tela.
Pedimos para que, se por acaso alguma das pessoas que estão no YouTube não fizeram a inscrição, que por favor também passem os endereços para a gente, porque senão a gente não consegue localizar vocês por e-mail. Então, se por acaso tiver aqui algum ouvinte, algum participante que não foi inscrito, a gente pede, por favor, que escreva aqui no próprio chat também do YouTube o endereço para que a gente possa, ou pelo menos o e-mail, para que a gente possa localizar vocês na sequência.
Exato. Confirmando, os livros vão ser distribuídos para todos os palestrantes, estudantes. É correto?
Correto.
Ok.
Bom, this event is closed.
I think Professora Fátima Agra
yes,
would like to talk some words. Ok, professora?
Eu não estou conseguindo entrar visualmente. Eu tento, mas não consigo. Então, eu falo assim mesmo, ok?
Ok, professora Fátima.
Ok. Thank you very much to everyone for participating and registered for the event. I also thank all colleagues from the organizing committee. I also would like to thank Eliezer and Lidwin from IDEP, UFPB, for the technical support, and the UFPB team, led by Professor Francisco Jaime. They were very important for us and for get to finish and organize this event. Also more, we would like to thank the Consulado Francês de Recife. Thank you everyone. Encerrado.
Thank you, professora. I can see you. Está funcionando a sua câmera. So.
E falou também, né?
Sim,
Deu
sim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This event is closed. Thank you so much for everyone. And see you later. Bye.
See you, Francisco. Thank you, everybody.
Merci beaucoup, professor Jean.
Thanks a lot, Jean.
Good night.